Why are we called Negroes? Why are we deaf, dumb, and blind? Why is everybody making progress, yet we seem to be lagging so far behind? Why are we mistreated? Why are we in this condition, stripped of our name, our language, our culture, our God, and our religion? Here in America, all of our religious training has been gotten by the preacher. He has told us of a heaven way up in the sky that we can't enjoy now, but rather after we die. But all of the years that we're living, for us there's nothing but hell, pain, torture, and misgiving. Yet the Bible speaks of a heaven filled with material luxury, which the white man and the preacher has right here, so we see. So my friend, take it for what it's worth. Your heaven and your hell is right here on this earth. So let's check back into history, which rewards all research and tells us plainly that before the white man gained entry to the east, he was living in the caves of Europe, a ravenous beast, eating juniper roots and eating flesh raw, till God sent Moses to civilize him and teach him the law. Then, following Marco Polo, an explorer, he gained entry into Asia and Africa. From China, he took silk and gunpowder. From India, he took jute, manganese, and rubber. He raped Africa of her diamonds and her gold. From the Mideast, he took barrels of oil untold, raping, robbing, and murdering everything in his path. The whole black world has tasted of the white man's wrath. So my friend, it's not hard to tell. A white man's heaven is a black man's hell. Came to America, we were living in the east. By the Nile River, we were living in luxury, enjoying freedom, justice, and equality. We wore silken robes and slippers of gold. We were the wealthiest and the wisest people, I'm told. Now we are the poorest of the poor. Nobody wants us at their door. So my friend, it's easy to tell. White man heaven is black man hell. When the white man came to America, he told the Indian, I am your white brother. He said, red man, I'll treat you the best. Yet and still he pushed the Indian further west with his white woman and fire water. Tricks and lies, he stole America. The original owner of this nation is cooped up on a reservation. So my friend, it's easy to tell. White man heaven, black man hell. He needed someone to work the land. His back was too weak. He needed you, black man, so he commissioned Sir John Hawkins to commit the world's most grievous sin, to take a man who's born to be free and bring him down to slavery, to sell a man as merchandise. On his body put a price. Oh, my friend, it's easy to tell. White man heaven is a black man hell.
Yes, indeed. Welcome back to another episode of the LANCESCURV show. We are determined to keep putting the work in. We're determined to keep swinging. There's a job to be done in our community, in our world, and it's something that we are very serious about. We're going to keep on swinging that axe until we chop down the tree of ignorance. As long as we have strength and breath in our body, that is our mission. It's no joke. We have work to do in our community. Not just on social media, but in real life in the streets. Just a little while ago, we came back from taping a segment with Brother Michael Hamer, a very powerful segment. And just a little while ago, I got a call and a text from Brother Zamal Temaray. I said, come on, man, let's do it again. You ready? He says, bet. Let's get a bite to eat. Let's come on back fresh, and we'll do this before we go to bed. Brother, you inspire me. You're going to make me stay up for the next 3 days doing shows, you know. Brother Zamal, talk to me, brother. Brother Zamal.
Yes.
Okay. I was going to have to come
Zamal
you.
is here.
No, that was my fault.
Oh, yeah, I'm here.
I had one of my sliders muted, so I don't think you heard me. But anyway.
Oh, okay. No biggie. No biggie.
I just want to welcome everybody in. Ella G, Indigo Child, Sheroes, MW. I stepped away because nature called. T. Good Dukes, Muhammad, Brother Muhammad, Muno, and wow, that's awesome. He said he's been following for a while. My dear sister, beautiful Beria Tasby, and who else here? Let me scroll down here. My thing froze for a second, but let me see. I want to see this part here. Because he said, oh, Brother Muhammad is listening right now from Sierra Leone. So we are all over the world right now. And I'm going to say, wow. Joseph Wiseman, yes, you were first coming in. Carl G, 318 Southern Hospitality. We got 47 people. It's going to grow because when they hear your voice, brother, you are the Pied Piper of facts and truth. So talk to me, man.
Well, I just decided to give you guys a triple portion of myself.
Yes.
Because we know that we don't know what's going to happen from day to day. That's during a quote-unquote pandemic or during any other time. So everybody, I think, should have a sense of urgency with regard to how they live their lives and how they'd like to get things accomplished, because nothing is promised to them. Mm-hmm. When you leave this earth, you want to leave behind some type of legacy to help the next generation.
Exactly.
And that's what I'm concerned with. So I'm putting this information out because it's time for the people of the planet to know this information. We live in the information age. We are awash in information, and it's time for people to, I guess, act like they're in the information age and not and just eliminate or eradicate some of this ignorance.
Oh,
and it's just funny how you can have this. What's that?
Oh, I'm just saying. Tell me about it. It's like we're still in the age of the pliers to change the channels and the coat hanger for the antenna.
Right.
On top of the console that doesn't work anymore.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Very true. But anyway, I just wanted to complete this series instead of putting it out over the course of weeks. I just wanted to just put it out in a much shorter period of time. And if you guys have been following the series, you'll know that I did part 1, 2, and 3. We finished a part 3 today. The title would be When Sheroes Ruled the World. And now this is part 4, right?
Oh, yes, this is part 4.
Okay, so this is part 4. So there's going to be yes. So this will be a part 5. I've lost count. So this is part 4, and then there'll be a part 5. So, and I'm sure you guys will find this very, very intriguing. I'm glad to know that there are people from around the world listening, right?
Oh, yes. Yes. Oh, yes. I'm going to call for a roll call in the chat room. I'm going to do it again a little later when we have more people, but I want to get a roll call from the chat room, wherever you are, whatever country, whatever state. And as we speak, I want to let everybody know that I'm working on the forums in Africa, just like I did America, United States, where every state has their own room, their own forum on the Melanin Envy. I'm working on transferring and creating forums for every country in the motherland, the 54 countries there. So I'm transferring. I'm right here. I have two computers in front of me, so I'm going to mute myself as you really get into it, but I'm right here with you.
Okay.
All right.
So for people that haven't heard the other series, again, this is it deals with the matriarchy, and it deals with how females at one point in time held the reins of planetary governance. And in this series, we've proven and we've dealt with the three different premises. The first of these two theses, number one, that the feminine was the original planetary governor. We've proven that in earlier versions of this series. Thesis number two, that the feminine possesses the ability to self-reproduce. She has the ability to make a copy or a facsimile of herself. Yes, that is possible. And if you don't believe it, don't believe it. Listen to, was it the prior version? I think it was number 3 that discussed that. I gave you hard scientific evidence, medical research studies, medical experiments, medical case studies to prove that women have the ability to self-reproduce. And then that brings us to point number 3 of my thesis. Point number 3 would be how the feminine lost her powers. So if she was a planetary hegemon or a planetary governor or a planetary ruler, she's not that right now. So how did she lose her powers? So in terms of how she lost or how she lost her powers, it happened in one of 2 ways. First, there was a physical degeneration from within. And secondly, as many have already surmised, if you started with the beginning of the series, there was a series of physical invasions and assaults from without. So those were the 2 ways that happened. So I'll start with the first way. How and why women stop reproducing on their own. I think I mentioned this comes from different sources. All of my sources will be listed. I listed a bunch of sources at the beginning in version number or series part one. And then at the end of this series, I'll list all of the other references that you can refer to, because it's a pretty long list. So how did women... I mentioned women degenerated and lost their powers to reproduce without men. So where's the evidence? Where's the evidence that they degenerated and lost their powers to reproduce without men? Well, if you look in nature, it works like this. I mean, most people will ask a question, and it's a valid question. Why doesn't she reproduce this way right now? Why don't women have the ability to reproduce on a parthenogenetic basis? Why can't they self-reproduce? And if you look, for example, at animals, look at animals in nature. Animals in nature have been known to alternate between periods of sexual reproduction and parthenogenetic reproduction. So the animal kingdom, you have virgin births, and we talked about that in part 3. And basically it works like this. In ideal conditions, ideal environmental conditions, and also when you have sexual reproduction in less ideal conditions. Maybe this is the reason why women can't self-reproduce at will. And in terms of examples, I'll give you some examples of how this works in nature. Take the insect. Take, let's say, aphids. Everybody knows what an aphid is. An aphid can reproduce parthenogenetically during the summertime. And if you study nature, you'll find all the answers to everything in life you'll find right in nature. So that's one thing we have to do is reconnect back with nature. But when you study aphids, or you look at aphids and you see how they reproduce in the summertime, they reproduce parthenogenetically in the summer. So there's no need for a male in the summertime. So these aphids can actually do that without a male partner. And so they do this in the summer when the conditions are right, when the sunshine is more plentiful, when the food sources are more abundant. And of course, when you study these aphids, you'll find out that the opposite happens in the autumn. In the autumn, when the environment is more adverse, when the food is less abundant, when the sunshine decreases, and when they have scanty natural resources, this causes the appearance of males and sexual reproduction. And actually, they did some laboratory tests that simulated ideal summer-like conditions. These tests simulated summer-like conditions. So what was the end result? The end result was that they produced 50 generations of parthenogenetically reproduced aphids over a 5-year period. They didn't do it in one period, but over a 5-year period, they produced 50 generations after simulating those types of conditions in a laboratory. The story is the same with insects like butterflies. Same story. They did the same studies with crustaceans. They did studies with Daphnia water fleas, and they did studies with other life forms in the animal kingdom. Now, those of you who do study the animal kingdom, you probably know about the phenomenon that they call cannibalism. Now, this is an extreme form of behavior that's connected to reproduction, and it looks really harsh when you're watching this on, say, a nature channel, when you see one species consuming another, but that, especially like in the insect world. But what happens is that this provides nutrition from males, and it's compensation really for adverse reproductive conditions. So when conditions are adverse and nutrition is not a given, or ample nutrition is not a given, you'll see this happening in nature. They also call this extreme behavior, they call it conjugation. Conjugation. Example, if you study or look at some videos on female spiders, you'll see how after a female spider fertilizes her eggs, you'll see what happens in those examples. You'll see some insects actually execute the male before the fact, before it even happens. And you'll see even before the actual act, because some insects, once they get connected to each other to reproduce, even though they get executed by the female member of that species, the reproduction still takes place as if that the animal or the insect is still living. It looks really weird, but it actually, that's how it works. Some even decapitate the male when the reproduction continues. I've seen this with praying mantises. The male mantis is smaller than the female. The female sees the mantis. The male is very cautious about approaching the female, and then when he does get close, sometimes the female will actually decapitate him while the reproduction continues, and she actually consumes him while the entire process is going on, which is really crazy. The same thing happens with in the microbial world, like microorganisms. They use conjugation / cannibalism to reproduce. When you see one microbial life form just merge or fuse with another microbial life form, that's conjugation or cannibalism in the microbial world. And this also happens or occurs during periods of nutritional deficiency. But in like normal or better environmental conditions, they independently reproduce, meaning they make copies of themselves, they make facsimiles of themselves, they parthenogenetically reproduce without a partner. In the microbial world, of course, they call that asexual reproduction. So this happens asexually or by what they call fission. Fission means division, Fission. And that is just another form of self-reproduction. Now, you guys forgive me if I spell these words out, because I know that some of these transmissions, these audio transmissions, will be heard by children, and eventually I want children to hear this because they're not getting this information in the school system, and this is information that they need to know. Because as we mentioned in the prior transmission on part 3, the information that they're learning is junk science, because the science that I laid out in part 3 was information that they should have known over 100 years ago. The experiments were done 100 years ago, and you'll see exactly what I mean when you go to part 3 to prove that women have the ability to reproduce on their own. And of course, there are more contemporary things that have happened as well, and I talk about all that in part 3. But anyway, back to my point, microbial parthenogenesis, if you want to call it that, they have different names. Like I said, they call it asexual reproduction, they call it fission, different names. Microbial parthenogenesis also applies to human microbes. These would be like sperm cells. That would be like ova. Those are microbial life forms within humans. And in their original state, in their primordial sperm, if you want to call it that, primordial sperm, because sperm matures, and as time goes on, and it moves from what I call the mother or the father sperm cell, and it matures, or you can say maybe degenerates, to eventually become an actual smaller sperm cell. So in their original state, primordial sperm can also parthenogenetically reproduce, and I explain this in detail in part 3. They can actually parthenogenetically reproduce because they actually experience or undergo fission or division as well. This is similar to female ova. Female ova or female eggs, or the female egg, or female eggs are, that's exactly what they do. And that process I described again in part 3, the process of oogenesis, if you want to look at the scientific word. But in spermatogenesis, what they call originally what they call spermatogenesis, which is the version of fission or division or asexual reproduction in the sperm. Originally, the sperm is immobile. So later, the sperm, in that process, the sperm degenerates and it subdivides and it makes carbon sperm cell copies of itself. And this reproduction is asexual or reproduction via fission, eventually producing smaller mobile sperm cells. Now, the actual ovum in females, the actual egg degenerates as well from, or matures, depending on which term you want to use. It changes form from a mother, I guess you could call it a mother cell, or a mother cell, or a primordial egg. And this process in the females, they call it oogenesis, OOGENESIS, oogenesis. And so in that process, it also subdivides or multiplies into smaller egg cells or ova. And these degenerated, or if you want to call it matured ova, they can only reproduce by sexual means because they've degenerated. So think about this. Women, and even men less so, are replicas of the planet. They're replicas of the Earth. Earth is probably, or actually it is, the greatest terrestrial exemplar of parthenogenesis. Why is that? Well, the Earth is always fertile. The Earth is always creating life. And of course, women are products of the Earth. Women would be the microcosmic example of a parthenogenetic macrocosm. So they would be the microcosmic example of a parthenogenetic macrocosm, the smaller version of a bigger version, a miniature version of a larger reality. So Earth reproduces in the spring when the environmental conditions are right, Earth exhibits no fertility, however, during the cold months when resources are scarce. So that's something to think about. So humans right now are under less than ideal environmental conditions. They are in a degenerated state due, of course, to inferior nutrition. We've come so far in this modern world, and so many people, it makes me laugh, they want to come to America, and they think America is so advanced, but America is a retrogressive society in so many respects. And all you have to do is start with the nutrition, and you can go from there. The nutrition is inferior from what you had in your mother countries, in Trinidad, in Africa. And I watch these movies. It's just so funny with excellent African actors. They're some of the best actors I've ever seen in these African movies. It doesn't matter if they're depicted in a city like Accra in Ghana, or if they're in Nigeria, or if they're in the village. Those village movies with the Africans are some of the best movies, some of the best actors, and I guarantee you that some of them, many of them, probably all of them, have taken in one single acting lesson.
Exactly.
But anyway, they want to come here, and they always talk about how good America is. I don't think they'll be saying that after this thing is over. I don't think they'll be saying that. But anyway, to get back to my point, we are in a degenerated state due to inferior nutrition. So maybe reversing this reality will be able to eventuate in virgin births. Because it is a fact, so-called civilized folk under artificial or less than optimal environmental conditions, i.e. lack of sunlight, i.e. processed food, i.e. sedentary lifestyles. These types of people are less fertile than so-called primitives. And what do the researchers recommend to induce virgin births on demand? The people that have done the research. This is what they say. According to the researchers, it is a lack of proper nutrition that prevents women from having virgin births on demand. This nutritional lack would need to address several different areas. And what are those areas? Number one, they'd have to look at blood pH levels. They'd also have to look at body fluids. And then they'd also have to look at sunlight exposure. So in terms of blood pH level, it's been discovered that a female's blood pH and her diet must lend itself to proper nutrition. And let's start with the blood pH level first. To receive proper nutrition, a woman's blood has to be what they call alkalized, or placed into an alkaline state. A lot of people know about the alkaline water and the importance of having an alkaline body and whatnot, and that's basically what has to happen. So in order to accomplish this, two areas have to be addressed. One, deep breathing techniques and diet. You know, before you think this is crazy, I mean, please just hear me out. Because it has been determined that certain deep breathing techniques and a raw food diet is proven to alkalize the blood. If that sounds far-fetched, listen at this. I mean, there's a poem written by a man named Virgil about a mare that had a virgin birth by utilizing the nutrients present in the air. Let me see if I can find that. How are we flowing so far? You guys hear me pretty well?
And
loud and clear?
Like a champ, like a champ.
Good. All right, let me go to page 103. This is in Mysteries of Human Reproduction. I mentioned that in the bibliography list in the first series, the part 1. Let me go to that page real quick. I just wanted to read something really phenomenal that I read here. All right, this poem was written by this guy named Virgil. And it talks about mares and how mares reproduce. And I'll read the poem. Says as follows: the mares to cliffs of rugged rocks repaired. So the mare is on a rugged cliff. And with wide nostrils snuff the western air. So they're breathing in the air with their nostril. And they're faced to the west. When wondrous the parent wind, without the stallion propagates the kind, or the kind, they made it rhyme with wind. Then fired with amorous rage, they take their flight through plains and mount the hills unequal height. Nor to the north, nor to the rising sun, nor southward to the reigning regions on, but boring to the west and hovering there, with gaping mouth they draw prolific air. So what is that saying? They're saying that these mares are able to reproduce without a stallion. It says here in the same book, now it is well known that this same Virgil was a great natural philosopher as well as a poet. And here he confidently asserts that it is very common for mares to become pregnant without intercourse by turning their faces to the west and snuffing up the wind in that quarter. But all naturalists have being agreed that there is great analogy and similitude in the generations of all animals, whether bipeds or quadrupeds. It occurred to me that what has happened to the mares might, for this very reason, happen to women. Author's note: Professor Jacques Loeb has shown that increased alkalinity of the blood favors parthenogenetic development of eggs ordinarily requiring sexual fertilization by the male cell. Increased respiration makes the blood increasingly alkaline. The inference is that increased respiration should be conducive to parthenogenesis, both among mares and women. So that's what I wanted to read to you guys to make the connection between alkalinity and breathing, the importance of breathing or proper breathing. And that poem gives you an idea of the power of breath. And interestingly, in the Breath book written by Panabab Yanun, he wrote a book called The Breath Book. It's got a 100-something odd page book, extremely detailed work outlining specific techniques about the science of breathing. And I think some of the people know about Panabab Yanun. He's also known as Dr. Malachi Z. York. He's a son of Africa. He's also a son of America. He has Ghanaian roots. He has Sudanese roots from the Akan clan in Ghana, the Iwe tribe. And then he's also part Sudanese from the Dongolowe tribe. And then the American part is the Yamasee Native American family of York. And this is a prolific writer. He's written over 1,000 books. Believe it or not, I'm definitely one of his students. And he's continuing to write as we speak. Information the likes of which you've never heard before on every conceivable topic on the planet and off the planet. Well, back to my point. While yoga breathing is said to alkalize the blood, Panabab Yanun teaches the complete Egyptian breathing method utilized by Egyptian high priests as the best method of breathing known to all science worldwide. And so he said on page 46 of the same book, the Breath book, that carefully conducted scientific experiments have shown that soldiers and sailors who sleep with their mouths open are much more liable to contract contagious diseases than those who breathe properly through their nostrils. An instance is related in which smallpox became an epidemic on a man of war in foreign areas. Every death which resulted was that of some sailor or marine who was a mouth breather, not a single nostril breather succumbing. And then on page 60 of the same book, he comments that most colds can be cured by complete union breathing and partial fasting for a day. And then he goes on to say that the quality of blood depends largely on its proper oxygenation in the lungs. And if it's under-oxygenated, it becomes poor in capacity and laden with all sorts of impurities, and the system suffers from lack of nourishment and often becomes poisoned by the waste products remaining in the blood. So in short, there is a connection between blood pH, breathing, and nutritional vitality. I just wanted to make that connection. So now that we've examined the nutritional importance of proper blood pH level and diet, let's look at the second nutritional area that I mentioned, and that area involved the retention of vital bodily fluids. The retention of vital bodily fluids. Because losing bodily fluids or vital bodily fluids will definitely result in a nutritional deficit in the physical body. So the logical question will be, how does a woman lose vital bodily fluids? Well, science now knows that menstruation and sex leads to a loss of bodily fluids in women. And those loss of bodily fluids include, obviously, loss of blood, loss of nutrients, loss of hormones, loss of vitamins, loss of enzymes, those types of bodily fluids. So it's a known fact that the remedy for loss of vital bodily fluids is really by sexual abstinence and menstrual prevention. So the question arises, how does a female stop menstruation? That's a good question. But one thing you should look at is, well, the answer is this. Sexual abstinence / chastity, or chastity as they call it, stops menstruation, along with a low-protein vegetarian diet, and sex drive is even said to be reduced on a raw food diet. And interestingly, the apes, the anthropoid apes, when they're in captivity, if you look at what happens to them in captivity, you'll see when they're in captivity, they have a monthly period, just like their normal human counterparts. However, when in captivity, they are on an unnatural diet. But once they return to their normal primal diet in their natural habitat, they don't constantly bleed every month or year round, but only periodically in the spring and fall like other mammals. That's another thing to think about. So human women, as female mammals, they can do the same thing and also menstruate periodically. And this ties in with why in the times of the Roman Empire, they actually persecuted bleeding women. That's right. In the times of the Romans, they persecuted bleeding women. The author says, and I quote, "It is quite common that many women, whether they be athletes or not, and providing that they are on a supernatural diet, faithfully practicing yoga, or getting lots of vigorous exercise, enjoy a superior overall health with a robust vitality. They're able to reabsorb enzymes, vitamins, minerals, and hormones otherwise lost, along with the blood during menstruation." And then there's a guy named Hilton Hotima. He wrote a book called, what's the name of that book? The Secret of Regeneration. And he says that during the Inquisition, the time of the Inquisition, non-bleeding women who lived in nature, remote from any large city or village, were its primary targets. And he wasn't talking about women who were post-menopausal. He was talking about those quote-unquote regenerated women who had sublimated or modified their energy into an acceptable activity. They sublimated their menstruation, and they practiced things like midwifery, where they were midwives. They practiced Wicca. Of course, that's their science, not ours, Wicca. So they practice midwifery, they practice Wicca, they practice herbalism, they practice astrology, and everything else associated with a matriarchal or goddess/pagan culture in general. And so he continues, there were many sympathetic men that died along with those millions of women during the Inquisition. Historians estimate the murdering of these sweet pagan people throughout Europe by the hands of right-wing Christian zealots, numbered between 400,000 or 100,000 to as many as 9 million during that 350-year period known as the Dark Ages. Of course, that was in Europe. And the third area of nutrition, basically, that's related to women having virgin births, that would pertain to the level of sunlight exposure. And I talked about sunlight exposure earlier. and I mentioned that it had a connection to parthenogenesis. So if you guys did listen to that, those of you who did, you may recall earlier in the discussion, the connection made between sunlight and parthenogenesis when I spoke about Buddha's mom, the mom of Buddha, of the Buddhist religion. Buddha's mom was impregnated by, first of all, there's different stories about Buddha. Some of the less known or the lesser known stories about Buddha are about Buddha being born in a immaculate conception type manner, where his mom was impregnated by sunbeams, as well as historical accounts of women being impregnated by the sun. There are historical accounts of women being impregnated by the sun. And surprise, surprise, these accounts are not so mythical after all. So we basically mention how sunlight is associated with virgin birth in the animal kingdom. And this does parallel the male, if you want to call it, the male sunlight fertilizing the seeds, or the female quote-unquote eggs, if you want to call it that, the eggs of the earth being fertilized by the male seeds and bringing forth life. In another example, this would include male sperm cells, referred to by researchers as particles of light or condensed sunlight that fertilize the female egg. So in all cases, whether sunlight impregnates the earth, or whether sperm cells impregnate a female egg, or whether abundant sunlight can induce virgin births in the animal kingdom, the same thing can happen to human females who are also a part of nature and the animal kingdom, as are other naturally created humans. And so even though all of this may make perfect sense, it's not to suggest that the research constitutes the final word in terms of how indigenous black women lost their powers of self-reproduction. Because in Pamnabab Yanun's book or work entitled The Planet Earth is Women, he talks about that. I don't have the book with me, so I can't really quote it, but he does talk about that in the book, The Planet Earth is Women. He also described how black people in general experienced a physical degeneration, how black people in general lost their powers, as well as black people in general, lost the powers that they once possessed. So he talks about that in Planet Earth is Women, and again, he also talks about it in the book that I mentioned in a prior series. I don't remember which one. My Brother the Extraterrestrial. In My Brother the Extraterrestrial, I'll just read some of it here. This is actually written by the sister of Pamnabab Yanun. My Brother the Extraterrestrial says here, let's see, page 136. Now they, and we know who they are, they spray on color. They spray our color on. They use all kinds of skin toning to look like us. Yet the sun will kill them and many of our people because of mixing with them. So that's one way we degenerated. So the question is asked in this book, so our blackness and our woolly hair is a blessing? Answer, yes, that is the actual fact. We have hair, all others have fur as other animals, beasts, yet we'll call it hair except on animals. Then it's fur. All you have to do is look and see they all have fur, not nappy, woolly, kinky hair as Negro or Negroids, and many who mixed with Negroids. Yet note why and how. You notice that newborn babies of most races, or most all races, are born with fur and no hair growth because their genes are at its weakest time. As they grow, they become stronger, and their fur begins to curl from the digit 6 to the digit 9, from straight farar or fur to nappy wabar or hair. So the stronger the genes, the tighter the curl of the growth on the head because of mixing. Most people have thin growth on their bodies. Real strong gene people grow nappy hair on their bodies. Originally, Negroids or Nagaru did not have any growth on their body. Just as you noticed, real strong gened Nubans of Africa don't grow facial hair or body hair. After mixing, there was the need for antenna to attract more electricity to the body. And if you guys are familiar with a prior series that I did, the planet Earth is, the one on Nazi Germany, I did a series called Nazi Germany and the Polarity War. That is actually proven. I don't have time to prove that now, but that's talked about in that series. So the question is asked here. And how we doing, Lance? Can you guys hear me loud and clear?
Loud and clear, brother. I was on mute for a second,
great.
so it was going to take a second to unmute myself. But loud and clear.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Okay, so the question is asked here. Is hair a form of antenna? Yes. The answer is yes. This is an actual fact. Yet, because of our black skin, we did not originally need to attract the sun's rays. It grew out of us from our central solar plexus. The blacks or negroids being the sun's original offspring as a toon ray, a birther of others makes the sun feminine or feminine. And it says here, next question, so is the sun a female? The answer, yes. A giver of life. She empowered Nagaru, negroids, with the same powers that she has. The power to be black and produce black offspring. In other words, your skin is black because, like all existence before any form of light or fire, you have blackness, dark material, dark energy, then the black hole onto the Big Bang, one of many. Why, in their Bible, they say, Genesis chapter 1, verse 3, their God first said, let there be light, the Big Bang out of darkness. So what state was he in first? Darkness. So dark is not evil at all. Evil came with light, chaos. Where did their Lord, Yahweh, or Jah, dwell in 1 Kings chapter 8, verse 12? In Chronicles chapter 6, verse 1. So darkness, dark, blackness, black is not evil or wicked, another adverse deception by white light people. So the next question. So all that is dark is evil in the Bible and Quran. Is adverse forces at work on our minds? Answer, yes. That is an actual fact. 6 minds working to reverse 9 minds. The sun we Nagaru or Negroids have in our reproductive system is a solar system. Our central sun is in our solar plexus, and in your marrow of your bones is what is called sun heat genes. In Arabic, they say the word azdam. In Arabic, or adhim. They say supreme. When you look it up, you see the root. Its root is bone, where warm blood is born or created. So the question here is, what are sun heat genes? Answer. These sun heat genes in us become part of the blood, and they emanate outward to the skin. And your sun heat genes burn the skin black, even boil if you cut, such as keloid that only Negroids or Nagaru get. And outgrowth, as Negroids heal their skin, as in ancient times, able to regrow limbs or even shape shift to grow wings in order to fly, as you see on ancient Kamamu Egyptian records. Now, for those of you who think that's crazy, I challenge you to listen to an upcoming video and I'll prove all of that. So the next question is, so is that why Negroids only keloid? You keloid, for example, when brothers shave their beard and they get these razor bumps, that's a form of keloiding. That's unique to so-called black people. So the answer is yes. That is why, and there is much more to it, why our race used to cut into their skin tribal scars, and so much that has been forgotten with the spell of hypnotic amnesia cast upon our race 6,000 years ago by Lawi Tananu, Leviathan, Kingu, or Kingu. Question, so all this from sun heat genes? Answer, sun heat genes burn the skin black from green as we rust in color from inside out, transformed from green to brown. the more sun heat genes one has, the blacker or darker that person will be. Question. So the blacker the person, the stronger their genes? Yes. That is the actual fact. The blacker the person, or being black, is far superior, or being superior, or the supreme beings, called Pa Nawap Mukwanu. And basically, that's what I wanted to read. Basically, the whole premise is that we had stronger genes before. Our genes are not as strong now, and race mixing also weakened us. And when it comes to me saying that one group of people have fur and one group of people have hair, I'm not being racist, because all babies, whether they're black or of any other persuasion, they start off with fur or very, very thin hair, because their genes are weaker, and as their genes progress or get stronger, they actually develop thicker, curly, or kinkier hair. So that's the point I wanted to make. So that will basically include everything that I wanted to mention in terms of why women don't parthenogenetically reproduce, and the reasons that I advanced basically had to do with the fact, that I think I answered the question of why there was a degeneration that happened from within that caused women to stop self-reproducing because of the physical degeneration from within. And then, of course, I mentioned that there was also a series of invasions or physical assaults from without, and that would bring us to the next part. So before I get to that part, I probably want to get a glass of water, and I'll get to that, and then we'll finish up.
Yeah, take your time, brother. I'll throw some music on.
Oh, I'm good now.
Oh, that's quick.
I'm good. I have the water right here. I just needed to get a.
Oh, okay. Quick,
a little water in my throat.
The flash.
Yeah, man.
I just want to say how much I appreciate you, brother, because really, who teaches like this? Who takes the time to teach like this? You know, I really appreciate that. I really appreciate the work that you're putting in, the spirit in which you share, and I'm enjoying myself.
Oh, that's great, man. I'm having a ball, and I appreciate this platform. Like I said, I looked at you for a while to feel you out, to say, well, this brother, he looks pretty real. He got to be real.
But I like that, though. I like that, though. I like that you took, I tell people, let the work speak for itself. I have nothing to say. Let the work speak for itself.
I didn't expect you to be perfect, but I was really impressed, and I was like I told you, my sister was watching you. We started watching you at the same time, and we didn't even know it.
Oh, my God.
She just told me that a couple weeks ago.
That's funny.
Just told me that a couple weeks ago. So basically now, what I want to do is just get into the second way that women, or the feminine, lost their powers of planetary governance. This is the second way. The first way was a physical degeneration from within, and that could have happened in a multitude of ways. As I mentioned, mixing actually lowers our genetic, our genetic power. So, and then of course, adverse nutrition has a big impact. But now we want to get to the invasions that occurred from without, that caused or prompted the fall of the matriarchy, or that contributed to it. So the matriarchy, the fall of the matriarchy, you have to deal with the barbarian invaders involved, and in terms of the barbarian aggressors in this sordid drama, you had it was basically a mix of the same people with different names. If you wanted to divide them up into three groups, you have to say that one, it would be the Christian zealots, two would be the Old Testament zealots, and then three would be probably a miscellany of warmongers. So if you deal with the Christian zealots, they will be part of a three-part alliance, or what I call a three-part alliance, or a troika. Troika just means three, Troika. So a three-part alliance, or a troika, which included A, the Catholic Church, B, the Protestant Church, C, the state, the way they operate right now. And then, of course, you had the Old Testament zealots that overturned the matriarchy. And then you had a miscellany of warmongers that I mentioned. So According to their definitions, the assault against the matriarchy started around the 5th millennium BCE. That was roughly 7,000 to 6,000 years ago, around the time that mankind, or a kind of man, was actually created or made in a series of laboratories, and that's a topic for a whole nother discussion. As a matter of fact, all of his books now talk about, the books written by Panabab Yanun, all of his books talk about this. It's a whole series of books called Actual Facts. It's a series of about 350 books in total. And he said that it took him from 1970 AD to 2000 AD to get to this point, because we were so religious, and he was absolutely right. Because he had to meet us basically where we were, and that's where we were stuck in the muck and the mire of religion. So first, let's talk about the Christian zealots and how they overturned the matriarchy. You have a situation in history where you know that the Catholic and the Protestant church, they actually were rivals. They fought against one another. You know, they both, even though they fought one another, both of them demonized, tortured, executed so-called female witches. And these victims were really, the so-called witches, they were really folk healers. They were what were known as wise women. They were independent practitioners. They were lay healers. They were herbalists. You know, collecting medicinal plants called simples. They called the women that did that the simples. They called the plants the simples, S-I-M-P-L-E-S, because they collected simple plants that had powerful medicinal cures. And so you had the witch burning phase for more than 4 centuries in Europe, from the 14th to the 17th century. A whole witch burning craze. So through the newly established male-dominated medical field or profession of the 13th century, they initiated a discriminatory campaign against the quote-unquote witches. This was long before even the actual witch burnings occurred, because the witch burnings occurred in the 14th through the 17th centuries. The emerging medical field of that time was what they call a medical field, which was really medical quackery, because they didn't know what they were doing. But that emerged in the 13th century, so that happened before the witch burning craze. But the medical profession, plus the church, plus the state, they all teamed up to eliminate their quote-unquote competition. It was a classic case of a hostile cartel-style takeover of a market, much like hostile corporate takeovers occur today. And what we're having right now with the so-called pandemic, which is what I called a plandemic in the very first video that I did, a plandemic insofar as this is not an actual pandemic, but it's actually a global, a well-coordinated attempt at a global hostile corporate takeover of the planet. That's globalism. But back to my point, obviously in the end, the victors, they were allied with the state and receiving legal sanction and protection of the state. So there was an infamous book, I think I mentioned it in part 3. There was an infamous book that circulated during the time of the witch burnings in Europe called the Malleus Maleficarum. You don't have to get the book, because it's a book that's vomited straight out of the bowels of hell. Because, as I mentioned, it was a handbook, a literal, like a field guide that you would take. Like, say you go on a field trip, and you have this guy to tell you how to act and what to do with specific instructions and pictures. Well, in this literal field guide, it was written by 2 sadistic male freaks, and it outlined the identification, the capture, the prosecution, the torture, and the final execution of so-called witches. So there was a protocol that they followed to kill these women. And it stated that no one does more harm. In this book, they stated, no one does more harm to the Catholic Church than midwives. So there was a competition thing going on. So this was a bold admission indeed. And it also stated that in this book, it stated, if a woman dared to cure without having studied, she must die. This is what the book said. And this is what the Catholic Church supported. But they never tell you about that. And actually, they actually do tell you about it. If you do enough research, it's right there. They tell you about how the Catholic Church was the tyrannical institution back in those times. And just because they're in the shadows right now, don't think that they don't have a lot of power to this day. Don't think that they're not involved in planetary manipulation. Don't think that they don't have a hand in your slavery on a global basis. Don't think for 1 second just because they're in the shadows. But keep in mind, during this time, what they call formal training, quote unquote formal training, was non-existent for the early European doctors. They were actually unlearned. So schooling could be anywhere from 2 months to 2 years. No high school diploma required. Yet these same unqualified men, so-called doctors, incompetence is a more appropriate word. They were used in witch trials as expert witnesses to prove that illnesses were caused or induced by witchcraft. And this is why the quote of Oliver Wendell Holmes Sr. amounted to nothing short of a scathing indictment of the pathetic lack of European medical expertise. He basically said, and I'll just paraphrase from what I remember, his quote, he said that if all the medicines used by doctors were thrown into the ocean, it would be so much better for man and so much worse for the fish. So basically, these so-called medical practitioners, and this is how your medical system emerged. This is the origins and the roots of your medical system. These so-called medical practitioners were no more than glorified welfare recipients deriving power and status due to a windfall gift from the state in the form of legislative tolerance. That was their windfall. So now, even though these university-trained physicians had monopolized medicine in Europe, in the 19th century, America of the 1800s, the practice of medicine was wide open. Just like the internet was wide open at one time, the practice of medicine at one time was wide open. But since the same male supremacy mindset had come to America, the American war wasn't complete, or the medical war wasn't complete, because so the anti-female offensive basically continued over here. Started in Europe and it migrated over here because the same people, same mindset, same methodology, same desires and schemes and plans. So they were what I call political skirmishes between two different factions. The female healers, and you had the male incompetents, because they had very little training. But the final victory was secured by the ruthless, what they call robber baron types, like the Rockefellers, and the robber baron types, like the Carnegies, the criminal pirate types, the pirates, criminal pirate types who extracted a motherload of wealth out of the American economy. And this victory was a predictable victory because, like their European medical counterparts, the American doctors aligned themselves with, both big business and the state, and employed every underhanded trick, every scheme known to mankind, ranging from verbal ridicule, slander, and demonization of their female rivals, all the way to legislative chicanery and legal tricks. So in the end, they were able to wrest control and completely exclude the non-professional, quote-unquote, non-professional female lay healers. Like an ethnic cleansing, there was a removal or a cleansing along gender lines. So now, of course, the victorious and incompetent but professional, quote-unquote, professional MDs, male MDs, had to finish the job because there was another thorn. There was another thorn in their side, and that thorn were those damn midwives. They had to get rid of them. That thorn was causing them to bleed and bleed profusely. They did, by their own estimate, to the tune of millions of dollars. So you see, the midwives were earning millions of dollars for their services, millions of dollars which the university-trained, quote-unquote, professional male physicians, they were not receiving those funds. They decided to redirect those funds into their pockets. So once finished, or once they were complete, the new white male medical profession had emerged, born on the backs of the female lay healers. And so, as I mentioned a few minutes earlier, I mentioned the Inquisition in Europe. There was a time when both sides of the Christian church, including the Catholic and the Protestant arms, as well as their Old Testament Judaic rivals, waged a brutal war of aggression, sadism, and misogyny against women in positions of power. You know, that's real love and unity at work, because today all of the Christian denominations and churches and splinter groups and offshoots and ecumenical persuasions and variations, they don't have that type of love, because all of them are, everybody is right and everybody else is wrong. Okay, so back to my point. Although these factions were, all rivals of one another, they privately agreed that the feminine had to be suppressed. So it was simple. Basically, the whole world of Christendom, as they call it, the Christian church, that is, was on the ropes, and the Catholic Church was waging a war for its very survival and existence. And given that this organization, like any other organization, is a living entity seeking life preservation or life extension, and given that self-preservation is the first law of nature, the religious establishment as a life form, they came out swinging against what it currently perceived as an existential threat, or a threat to its very existence. But here was the problem. These female so-called heretics held the balance of power. And basically, look up what the word heretic means. It's really amazing when you look up the definition of the word. The definition of the word heretic, it could be defined in two different ways. One, it could be a person who differs in opinion from an accepted a view or doctrine, or a nonconformist, a person that doesn't agree with the prevailing opinion on different matters. A second definition could be a person who differs in opinion from established religious dogma or religious orthodoxy. So if you differ from, say, the teachings of the Catholic Church, the pedophilic Catholic Church, a haven of pedophilia and debauchery, that's an established religion. So if you start your own religion, that's a cult. And they basically do that to protect their monopoly. And if you think about the definition of a heretic, that sounds like me. That sounds like members of my listening audience. So I guess all of us are heretics. And when you look up the word heretic, if you do the etymology, it comes from the Latin word hereticus, and it's from the Greek word hiereticus. It's H-A-I-R-E-T-I-K-A-S, I think. Yeah, H-A-I-R-E-T-I-K-A-S. Hereticus is a Greek word that means to choose. So heretics, these witches, they were guilty of the crime of heresy, of choosing. That was their crime. So that power was just too much for too much power for the power-hungry church leaders. They wanted to eliminate these women. But before the current fraudulent, centralized, corrupt, for-profit modern medical system was set up, these women were the miracle healers. All of their miracles were performed with an intimate knowledge of herbs and medicinal substances from Mother Earth. But of course, in a competitive market, which was the way the holy roller usurpers looked at it at the time, and still do, they wanted to monopolize and centralize this power into their own hands. So they were basically desirous of becoming the sole repository of all miracles and all cures, real and imagined. So they had to spread a misinformation campaign with their media of that day, like they do today. So they created an industry out of their murderous activities. And according to the research of many, including researcher Bobby Hemmick, Mama Wata, she's written books about the matriarchy. Many or most of these women, being original planetary stewards and sovereigns, that were murdered. These were black women, and that makes perfect sense. They were falsely labeled in the history books as witches. So in terms of mankind making money from all, from all the women that they killed, it seemed like everybody involved in the killing machine got paid. And it worked like this. First, it was easy to accuse any woman of being a witch. This is back during the time of the witch burning era in Europe. It was easy to accuse any woman of being a witch. And the authorities, they provided financial rewards to their allies in the witch burning business, because that's what it was, a business. And so these quote unquote witches could be someone you didn't like, could be someone who maybe refused your sexual advances, or someone that was a true healer or a midwife. That was a witch. So if a woman was identified as such, it was more than likely that she'd be burned at the stake. So everybody or everyone, from the accusers to the judges to the professional torturers to the flesh prickers, I'll tell you what that is in a minute, to the guards, to the doctors, to the scaffold makers, to the prison transporters, to the jail food preparers, and even the sellers of the witches' businesses and properties. All of these folks got paid either financially or emotionally. And funny how some people, and I put people in quotes, how some people, if you want to call them people, monetize murder and create profitable industries around death to this very day. But, somebody got paid to sell, design, manufacture, and distribute torture devices and related torture paraphernalia. They got paid to do that. Somebody got paid for transportation costs for the prisoners. Somebody got paid for the paper used to record the legal record of the trials. Somebody got paid for searching the homes of the accused. Somebody got paid to sell off their businesses and their homes and assets. Somebody got paid for the cost of the wood used to incinerate and burn up the quote-unquote witches, those so-called enemies of the radical, fanatical, triple alliance of organized religion, an alliance of Old Testament radicals and Catholic maniacs and Protestant pushers. And if all this was true, if all this is true, black women, if all this is true, black man, what in the hell are, you doing in the Roman Catholic Church? My fellow, Haitians, what in the hell are you doing in the Roman Catholic Church? My black brothers and sisters of any Christian denomination, all of which are offshoots, sired by the Roman Catholic Church, their mother. What in the hell are you doing in any Christian church? Now you no longer wonder why King James is reputed to have inserted the verse in Exodus chapter 22, verse 18. In Exodus chapter 22, verse 18, it's a verse that reads in the Christian Bible, it sanctions the murder of women. And yet women are adhering to this satanic doctrine. It says in that verse, thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. And who defines a witch is up to the person that does the writing in the book. That's arbitrary. Other translations say, thou shalt not suffer a sorceress to live, because they're always changing their Bible, always changing the words in the different versions. Nobody ever bothered to ask the question, who is the party or the parties making the accusation of witchcraft or sorcery? And two, what is the offense of the accused that qualifies them as a witch? Of course, the answer is, some unscrupulous, insecure male supremacist with ulterior financial motives is the source of the ultimate source of the accusation. And it's amazing, all this hatred and murder of women, all of these accounts of women being mowed down by that killing machine called the church. And funny thing, the ironic thing is how women, uninformed women, are the staunchest and most devout adherents of Christian doctrine, of church doctrine, the same church that stole the assets and gorged itself on the blood of their feminine ancestors. Just to give you an idea of what happened, I like to read a couple things from this book called The Great Cosmic Mother. The Great Cosmic Mother, Rediscovering the Earth. This is written by a European woman. actually Monica Seju and Barbara Moore. I want to read to you exactly what happened to these women during that time. It says here, hopefully the sound is still clear, crystal clear, hopefully.
It's the best it ever sounded all night, brother.
Good. And I'm going to finish up with this. This says here on page 302 and 303, 5 centuries of Holy Inquisition, referring to the Catholic Church inquiring or interrogating these innocent women. 5 centuries of Holy Inquisition, especially the intensive 300 years of witch hunts following the papal bull of 1484, were a means of increasing the real wealth as well as power of the Christian Church. The property of every person burned passed into the Church's possession: lands, goods, money. And it wasn't just the poor who were burned. On the contrary, hold on a second. On the contrary, the Inquisition was finally ended because more and more towns were being ravaged and depopulated, with leading citizens arrested and brought to the stake. Thousands upon thousands of acres of land, homes, farms, and businesses, personal wealth and goods were all stripped from the accused witch and absorbed into the Catholic or into the Church. Children of the condemned, because this happened with both the Catholic and the Protestant, they were both profiting. Children of the condemned were forced to stand before the stakes, watching their parents burn. As they watched, they were whipped by the priest as punishment for being spawn of the devil. These children, orphaned and robbed of all inheritance except shame and grief, were sent to wander as beggars or imprisoned in Christian orphanages. We can wonder how many of us are descendants of these church disinherited orphans, who numbered in the millions. Millions. This didn't all happen so long ago. Witches were still being burned daily in 17th century Europe. The Inquisition gave itself license to use any means of forced confessions out of the accused. Judicial torture, not allowed under native European law, was imported directly from old Roman law for the express purpose of extracting confessions from witches. The quote-unquote proving of devil possession was cunning, for the refusal to confess companionship with Satan was seen as a sure sign of guilt, while confession was heard as clear admission of guilt, though most confessions were extracted only by the most hideous torture. Both denial and confession were punished with death. In some trials, witches were bound, they call them trials in quotes, witches were bound hand and foot and thrown into deep ponds. If they drowned, they were pronounced innocent. If they managed to float, they were hauled out, pronounced guilty, and dragged to the stake. Professional men called prickers, I told you I would tell you who these guys were, the prickers, professionals, made a living going from town to town sticking needles into women. Accused women were exposed naked from the waist down in the public square for this purpose. The prick was a tool with a hollow shaft, allowing the pricker to appear to stick a woman's flesh. If she didn't bleed from the wound, she was a witch. Of course, with his secret retractable needle, the pricker could guarantee that many women did not bleed. And for each quote-unquote witch he thus exposed to death, he was paid money by the local church and town government. Many male professionals profited from the witch trials and executions. Local judges, bailiffs, guards, and doctors all got their cut, as well as the torture and scaffold maker. In many cases, the accused witch was actually charged for the cost of searching his or her house. transportation to the trial, the cost of the paper used to record the trial, all food eaten during imprisonment, the cost of the wood consumed during the burning, and the travel expenses for 2 judges to escort the burnt body to a grave site. The witch trial transcripts are hideous but sobering reading. From such transcripts, and for freedom gleaned the story of Frau Peller. It seems a notable German judge, Franz Bormann, lusted after Frau Peller's sister. The sister refused to sleep with him. In retaliation, Frau Peller was arrested. She was arrested in the morning, and by 2 p.m. she was tortured. She was exorcised, shaved, and searched, and raped by the torturer's assistant, and further tortured. To silence her cries, Judge Bormann himself stuffed a dirty handkerchief into her mouth. After being tortured into naming her accomplices in witchcraft, Frau Peller was indeed convicted and burned alive in a hut of dry straw. Her husband, a court assessor, protested her trial and was thrown out of the courtroom. He died a few months later. Judge Bormann was a busy man. In 2 visits to 3 small German villages near Bonn, in 1631 and in 1636, he managed to burn alive 150 people from a total of 300 households. Some of the simpler torture instruments were eye gougers, branding irons, metal forehead tourniquets, and spine rollers with sharp metal protrusions. There were the usual thumb screws and leg vices, stocks with iron spikes, and boards with sharp pegs on which people were forced to kneel for hours. One of the more exotic instruments was called the pear. The pear. It was roughly the size and shape of a pear, constructed in 2 metallic halves or halves, each attached to a handle and hinged to open, like scissors or forceps. The pear was heated to red hot, then inserted into the prisoner's mouth, anus, and or vagina, and was spread open as far as it would go. One renowned trial judge in France, Jean Baudin, boasted of torturing many young children and invalids. Let's see. A lawyer, philosopher, and demonologist, considered one of the best minds of his generation. Baudin specialized in cautery and hot irons, and then cutting out the putrefied flesh. Feathers were dipped in burning sulfur and clamped in armpits and groins. People were given scalding baths in hot water mixed with lime. Bodies were stretched on racks and ladders or suspended by the thumbs with weights attached to the ankles. In the device called the strappado, S-T-R-A-P-P-A-D-O, considered a mild torture, the arms were tied behind the back with a rope attached to a pulley. The body was hoisted up and weights were attached to the feet. In squassation, a more severe punishment, squassation they call it, this trussed body was suddenly allowed to drop several feet, then jerked up, then dropped again. The point, frequently achieved, was to separate all the joints in the body, even after people had confessed being sentenced and were waiting to be burned. They could still be subject to random torture, hands, tongues, noses, and it goes on and on with this story. But I think you guys get the picture, you get the message of why I feel the way I do about these bogus religious institutions. That basically covers pretty much what I wanted to say. Also, I would recommend for you guys to get the movie. It's on YouTube called Flames in the Wind. This type of treatment was depicted in the movie Flames in the Wind, F-L-A-M-E-S, Flames in the Wind. I'll list that in the bibliography, too, at the end of the next segment. But that's basically what I wanted to talk to you guys about. Hopefully this was an informative talk. Hopefully nobody was offended. I'm not. If you were offended, I personally don't care. I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm just trying to deliver information that has been withheld from us for far too long. And now that we have this quote unquote internet, which is a temporary thing, we know that they're planning to take this away at some point because they don't want to see black people come together, which is going to happen anyway because their time is up. But no racism. Partner Babby Noon taught us in his infinite wisdom that no one wins the race in racism. It's just like saying, just because you stay away from a pit bull or a Doberman Pinscher, you know that those are ravenous animals. You know that they have teeth. You know that they could be snarling beasts. You know that they could, given the right set of circumstances, they could attack you and they could even eat you if they're so inclined. So knowing that or given that as a reference, to stay away and to avoid those types of animals. So does that mean that just because you stay away from a certain type of humanoid animal, that you hate those animals? Doesn't mean you hate them. It means that you're being wise and you're exercising prudence and common sense. And as I mentioned to Lance, if you see one of them walking across the street of any race, and it's an old woman, say, and she needs help, you think I wouldn't help that person? That's the type of person or people that we are. No matter what you do to us, we still have concern and care for other people and other, our fellow human beings.
That's right.
And that's because of we are the original people of the planet. And of course, this also means the flip side. The flip side is that all black people are not good. I came to that rude awakening, and it was very difficult for me to swallow. But those are the facts. There's some black people that will do you do you real dirty.
Oh, tell me about it.
It's just a matter of. But the thing about it is that in nature, there's a duality that exists. There's positive, there's negative, there's agreeable, there's disagreeable, and you're going to have that in your own race, and you're going to have that in any other race.
Yep.
But the fact of the matter is that a certain group of people have acted in the particular role as the aggressors. But again, I'm telling you, for those of you who do have that, hatred only consumes you. And you have to get to a point where you have to release that because it's only going to devour you. Mm-hmm. And that could be a thing that causes you to stay locked in this planetary environment, because once you leave, if you travel light, if you want to call it that, and you leave and go to the spiritual realm, if you have any type of baggage that ties you back to this realm, then where do you think you're going to go? You're going to come right back here and stay in this realm until you're done with those lessons that you need to receive. Mm-hmm. And move on. So in order to move on, you have to have that type of perspective. So that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about. How many minutes was that, Lance?
That was exactly, give me a second, I'll tell you. This was 1 hour, 28 minutes, and 32 seconds.
That's perfect. That's exactly what I wanted to do. That's exactly what I wanted to do. So next time we talk, so basically what we did, we covered a part of thesis number 3, that women lost their positions of planetary power in 2 ways. 1, by the physical degeneration from within, and 2, we started talking about the series of physical invasions that occurred from without. We did complete that, but we're going to finish that the next time we talk.
Definitely.
And there's more juicy information, historical information, that you guys will definitely, if you enjoyed this, you're going to definitely enjoy that. And that tells you how women lost their power. So wow. That's pretty much it.
Wow.
That's a mouthful, but it's time for people to know. No more secrets. This is the era of no transparency.
Exactly.
They've lied and lied for so long, and their lies have only caught up to them. They've come full circle now. And now we know what's going on.
It's out. It's out.
It's out. Now it's international. Now the whole world's going to know it.
Ain't there something?
Yeah.
Because I look at shows sometime that different interviews, different documentaries, different things that are real. You know, nothing that's false or any fantasy, anything. I mean, I'm a creative person, but when it comes to reality, there's enough reality that's way out there that's enough for me. And when I hear these people talking who don't look like us, a lot of them are admitting, you know, what they know was done and continues to be done. And that's amazing to me because, you know, there's other kind of conversations that are going on that we don't hear and they won't allow us to hear around their kitchen tables, dining room tables, in their inner circles. And they know something's coming and they study our spirituality deeply, more so than we do. They've taught us to be scared of who we are. So we equate what we are on a spiritual level with what Hollywood dictates the imagery to be. Don't go near that. That's demonic. That's evil. But they go over to the motherland and study it to have power over us and direct us over to something else that doesn't work. So now that we're coming into our own, if you notice it too, you know, I wear the different crystals and different stones and different things where I go, and the bracelets and everything. And there's always somebody, oh, that's a nice necklace you have there. It's a nice stone you have there. But it's it's more of a fascination with, oh, this guy's not like the other ones. This guy is on to something. I better treat him nice.
They know by the way you look.
Exactly. The way you walk, the way you carry yourself.
And then when you open your mouth, that's a whole nother story.
There you go. There you go. So I'm always aware of how I come off and how I appear when I go out. Even if I have shorts and a T-shirt on, yeah, I'm not going to go out. It's a way you carry yourself because you don't have to have the best of clothes on, but you can have regular stuff on.
That's true.
But that upright, clear-eyed look, firm, that you don't have any play. You're not sitting here.
You don't got your pants hanging down. Your pants are not hanging down. You're not scratching where you don't itch. You're not doing a tap dance. You're not foot shuffler.
Right.
You're not yes or massa. You know, you're looking at directly in the eye.
Exactly. And that in itself is a crime when you walk amongst them. They do it. See, they like what you just mentioned because they know they have you. They know you're no threat. They know you're off. But they will study you when they see that you have a different vibe like that. And when you're consistent with it, when you're on a job or when you're in a particular neighborhood that you live in, and they don't hear, say, for example, the noise coming out of your house or all of these cars in and out. And, you know, they say, wait a second, what do they do when they go inside? They're so quiet. They're not loud. I mean, I do what I want to do. But what I mean is that, you know, it you can see it. When you have a book in your hand, they want to know what it is. I mean, a book.
Oh, they always want to know what you're reading. Always. Yes. They don't walk past you. They even try to look and see what type of book you're reading.
Exactly.
Why? Because they know they're guilty.
And they want to send one of their own, or they want to send somebody who looks like you, who sold out to them to find out about you just for a time. If you notice when you go on a new job, the first week they're trying to dig and find out so much about you. After a while, they don't care to ask because they already found out. They know where you stand. I say keep them guessing. I have no problem. I give it to them slowly and surely. I make them scared, and I give it to them slowly, and they get relaxed. I give them a little more to make them wonder. Yeah. I play the mind games.
Yeah.
Stretch it out.
So do I. So do I. I'm good at that. Yep.
You know, so
yep, I'm very good at that. So
there are a lot of psychic battles that are going on unseen. See, we know what they say to us as far as words are concerned. We know the looks. But when you can stand still in a room with them, if you're on a job or a public area space, and you can feel the electrical battles going on, that, you know, the posturing that you can see doesn't indicate what's really going on between you. You see? So I throw that protective shield out all the time, and I attack them wherever I go. Even if I'm not near them and I'm silent, I'm attacking them in a way that they cannot arrest me. You see what I mean? It's a whole lot going on because they will attack you, and I stop them in their tracks.
Right.
Walking in the supermarket, they see me coming down the aisle. They already know. And I'm not tense. I'm just as relaxed. But if you want to brawl, we can brawl on the physical level, on the mental level, on the spiritual level, whichever way, or a combination of all of them. Like I tell them, in your verbal confrontations, I'm the closest thing to Superman that you ever want to see. So you pick it. You pick how you suffer your doom.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's really you're like you're a physical warrior and you're a mental warrior too. That's a dangerous combination to have that, because they look at a guy that works out with weights and they just think he's a musclehead, but there's more to me than meets the eye.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, they quickly want to put you into a sports category. Did you play football? Were you a boxer?
Right.
And you play games. I mean, I've done things, and people here well know what I've done. But you keep them, you give them a little, and you keep some back. You keep them wondering, you keep them on their toes.
Yep. So, how many people are on the line right now from Africa?
We had the brother from Sierra Leone, tongue twister, Mike Tyson moment. But we did a roll call earlier, and we had so many people from all over the country. And I believe we do have, is it Sister Lucky? Is she still here from Jamaica? But we do have people from out of the country. And eventually, like I said, if we can do another roll call before we end up real quick, and for the future, whoever hears this show after it's over, it could be a week from now, a month from now, still, put in there where you're from. I'd like to kind of get a gauge of that, and it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
It just lets you know we're all over the place. And I've, down to the years, I've communicated with people from all over the world, seriously. And like I said again, and I'll say it again, when Kwaku and I and, Mrs. Kwaku touched down in Ghana last year, and it was actually this time last year that I was in Ghana. This time last year, 3 days ago, I touched down and I was there. And it was amazing to hear the people call out. And it wasn't an ego thing, but it's just breathtaking that cars driving by, hey, Lance, Kwaku, in the restaurants and in the streets, and shaking our hands and holding up the phones and showing that oh, brother, I have your app in my phone. 4 brothers ran across the street. I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to defend myself. And they were so overjoyed. It was just all over.
Wow.
And Asantua, who was a tour guide, and her brother Kofi, even after we left, they were, they got a lot of business from, us promoting them, that they will, drive you around and tour you around all over the country. And it was a really reasonable deal. I mean, crazy reasonable.
Isn't it a beautiful place?
Yeah. And to have them, hotel with us and travel with us and show us around, we didn't have to worry about anything. It was extremely reasonable. But even after we left, she was still talking about the show, and she's in some of the various platforms here. And she had called me. She says, Lance, I can't believe it. We went way out in a village. I mean, way away from any major city, she told me. And she said there was a black man, a brother, who lived in this little village who pointed at her and said, I know you, lady. I know you, lady. And she said, no, you don't know me. I'm from Accra, but I was raised up so-and-so. I've never seen you before in my life. And he said, yes, I know you. I know you from the LANCESCURV show, way out somewhere. I'm like, what? So she videotaped him and showed that to me. And it was just wonderful. Like I said, that we can be unified, not a matter of somebody calling my name all over the world, but unifying all of us. And from that point, you can join because or join on to another brother and sister because the kind of mindset that you have. Yeah, we have fun here. We have some ratchet things going over here sometimes. Sometimes you want a little hot sauce on your food. Sometimes you want a little extra stuff, a little extra salt or whatever, a little vinegar. But but for the most part, like I said, look at the beauty of the chat room here. Those who make their comments and they greet each other and they know each other, and you're building something. Yeah. And that's what you want to have. These shows that I'm not putting that in anybody else's platform, but you go into some of these, Professor Griff is another great one. You know what I mean? But you go into these chat rooms and it's just all this cussing for no reason. I don't mind people dropping some words in the chat room, but there's no intellect behind it. They're just, and guys hitting on the women and, suck this, lick this, blah, blah, blah.
A lot of that,
come on.
A lot of that could be controlled opposition. A lot of it is people just doing it because they're ignorant and they're doing it for free. But some of that could also be controlled opposition too.
Oh, yeah,
they got plants everywhere.
Yeah.
They have plants everywhere.
Oh, we have them come in here all the time. And I can spot them because usually with their pages.
Yeah, I can too.
Oh, yeah. You go to their pages, you'll see no activity. You'll see that I have programs that let me know how long you've been around. And if your page is new within the last month, because I have programs to tell me that. I can even see a person's IP address and know that they're not who they say they are. There's somebody are booted off, but they come back as the opposite sex just to be here to see what's going on. You know what I mean? But it's the same IP.
Yeah.
It's the same internet provider. It's like, okay, come on. I'm gonna let you hang around a little bit. I'm gonna zap you too. So those are the things you have to watch out for, and the destruction, but the controlled opposition, yes, most definitely they come in. They come in definitely. But I spot them. I look for them. I'm aggressive with that.
I ask myself, what are these Negro bootlegs going to do when the dollar crashes in value and has no value?
There you go.
Like Elijah Muhammad told us that the dollar was going to fall, and Panabab Yanun told us, he told us that the American economy was going to crash, and people didn't believe it because I think he said this maybe 30 years ago.
It was actually.
Nobody believed.
Oh, you mean Elijah Muhammad? It was the early 70s before he passed away, the late 60s.
Both of them.
Yeah, even Farrakhan, he said the same thing. And Elijah Muhammad said that it's going to be so bad that you'll see dollar bills and $20 bills, 5s and 10s in the street, and you won't even waste your time to pick them up. Isn't that something?
It happened in Nazi Germany. It happened in Nazi Germany, toilet paper.
Right.
That's a whole nother story.
That's right.
I did a story on Nazi Germany with Nazi Germany and the Polarity War, which a lot of people like. My sister said that was her favorite one. And there's more to come on the historical aspect too, but then I want to do more in terms of more videos that relate to the importance of Mother Nature and importance of reconnecting and realigning ourselves with nature. I'm going to tell you guys some stories that you probably never heard about nature.
I'm down to hear them all, man, because I'm all about nature. That's what preserves me. Just to be in nature, it's like a cell phone being on the charger. For me, even times that I've run myself down a little bit and up all night and I need to sleep, I'm not sleeping inside. I'll go outside in the sun in a nice lawn chair and sleep there.
Yes.
Yes, I will.
Yes.
Because you
get your vitamin D.
Exactly.
Get that vitamin D.
And there's so much more. There's so much more than vitamin D that we get from that sun. So much more.
Much more than vitamin.
More.
Yes.
Exactly.
Much more.
Exactly.
Much more. Yes, sir.
That's right.
Yes, indeed. So, what was I going to say? Oh, all the links that I sent you.
Yes.
For the prior videos, put them in this one too.
Okay.
Including those survival videos, because we talked about survival and emergency preparedness and living in harmony with nature and how to feed yourself in a crunch if there's no food.
Yes.
Let's say you have no food. Those that can really help you. Like I mentioned before, there's a way you can get food from the tree, and you can make what they call bark bread, depending on the type of tree. Like a pine tree, you can make bark bread with that, and you can feed yourself, or you can make soup with that. That could sustain you, because they're trying to clean the supermarkets out, which is what they're doing.
Yes,
they're basically trying to starve the population into submission so that they could stampede us into their one world type socialist utopian.
That's right. That's right. Isn't that something?
Yep.
It's always something.
And I talked about all that. We talked about all that. We talked about why. Do you guys want to know why they're doing this, or who's responsible, and our part in this saga? You should listen to tape number 3. Was it number 3 where I talked about that?
Yes.
The reason, that explains why we're in this position.
Right. Definitely, man. It's like I said, most may not make it out. We don't realize how crucial a time it is right now. I mean, it is crucial. It is a any day now type thing when things go down. You see?
Right.
It's right. So like I said, we've got to be in this. I'm ready to roll now, man. If they said right now that you only had 24 hours to get up and get out, I'm ready,
gone,
and I'm ready to leave everything behind. I'm ready to accept the fact that there's certain people I'm not ever going to see again. And I told them this, not out of spite or being angry. I said, well, listen, you have your head in a certain place, and this is how I stand. If this goes down, this is what I'm going to have to do. You know what I mean? And then some people turn around and say, "Oh, you're running, you're this, you're that." No, it's self-preservation, and also,
no, it's not running. It's self-preservation.
But see, this is the thing. This is the funny thing. I've always spoke this way. I mean, from way back. I mean, from the '80s, aggressively. I didn't know how things were going to turn out exactly, but This is, I mean, I've always spoken this way. Okay, here's a funny story. There's a gentleman that I know who's a pastor, but we're cool. We know each other from Queens, New York, right? And he's a pastor, and he had ties in the Nation of Islam. So my thing is that we keep in contact every now and then. But he called me up, and he was in shock that there was a book that he had in his library from the early 90s. Okay, the early 90s. And he was telling me, Lance, he says, and he showed me the picture over the phone, took a picture, he was texting me, and then he called me. And then he said, you see this book, right? I said, yeah, I had that book. And he says, well, you know, the funny thing is, actually, before we actually met, I had this book. I said, okay. I mean, a lot of people had the book, or some Illuminati book or whatever, because I'm always talking about that, you know? So he said, I'm going to open a page. I want to take a picture and show you something. And it had my signature in it. But he didn't get it from me. Either I loaned the book out, but he said he bought it from somewhere. Maybe I sold off a bunch of books. I have doubles and everything. Books used to come to me. And it was my book. And he had it before we actually met. So how's that?
Wow. Wow.
You see what I mean? So
that's something else. That
it's
is
a small
really
circle. It's a small world when you do what you do and you live your path for a long time. So there's no pushing hard. It's a momentum that is accumulated over a long period of time, even before I knew anything about social media. I've been with this, you know.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so easy for me to remain in this and evolve and try to grow, but to hold my corner down and make it happen. So I love it.
Right.
And to preserve this thing, like we said earlier in the conversation before we actually got on live, you know, there is no more black media. You know, there is no real solid black media. And why is it that so many other people can talk about their issues, whether it be Jewish or Irish or this or that, and nobody says anything? Chinese, Korean, Japanese, and nobody says anything about them. But when we do it, all of a sudden, no, it's you're a separatist and you're racist, and you know we have to sit down and let these things happen. Well, that's not going to happen over here. I'm not a clown looking for attention. This is what I've lived. I've seen things with my own eyes from a historical standpoint, just coming up in New York City, that era ending when I was a young boy, and we come back into this, and it never came back. There's a thirst and a hunger that I have to bring that time back, even though we had problems back in those days. There was a unity, there was a connectedness that we had that I experienced personally. I'm not reaching around for the light switch in the dark. I'm telling you, I know where the light switch is. I've been there. You know, I'm almost 60 years old coming up on, so I know that. And, you know, I love that period. There was a joy, even throughout our dysfunctions and our problems and challenges. There was a love that we had before that we just don't seem to have now. It's like somebody choking with no oxygen. I'm looking for the love out here, and I don't feel it. I don't like this world the way it is right now in our community, the way it is. And there are some nice people out here. But the bottom line is that I yearn sometimes in my deepest dreams and thoughts. I find myself thinking back in time, not living in the past, but yearning for what the past had in the present, because just as sure as the sun shines, that same sun was shining when we showed each other love, all up through Harlem, New York, Washington Heights, different parts of Brooklyn, the Bronx, and Queens, growing up and just getting around and becoming myself, you know, just the people that I met and the experiences that I had that make me who I am today, priceless. There's so much deficiency now in this society that our young kids and children, there's not much to absorb now. There's nothing to pass down anymore. And people are just echoing. You know, they hear something and they repeat it, but they don't feel it. They didn't live it.
Well, you know, it's like a virus that they have been infected. They've been virally infected, because if you think of the teachings and the institutions and the products of those institutions, created by the establishment, they permeate the entire society, and they, like a virus, they are viral in that they infect, and they not only do they infect, but they metastasize. And they have to spread. like a cancer. That's exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So it permeates everything. Everything.
I mean, when I look back, I would readily give up the cell phone just to have a dime.
Oh man, the hell with a cell phone. Right now, my cell phone's been off for days, and I told people, and this is for people in the listening audience too. They've been trying to track people with their cell phones, and they try to maybe use that as a basis to say, "Oh, you haven't been adhering to the stay-at-home order." Which, who the hell are you supposed to stay at home when you're a grown person and you have things to do? But yeah, they want to use that possibly to use that as a basis to meddle into your private affairs. So me personally, this cell phone thing, I have the thing off at all times. First of all, if you're a male or even a female, you got that thing in your pocket. That thing causes sterility. It can have an impact on you not having children or even becoming impotent. I know a lot of people got that cell phone on in their damn pocket. Have that thing off. And if you're going to have it, have one of those protective devices, one of those diodes, to mitigate some of that adverse radioactivity. Because I look at it as a piece of as a radioactive device, and I keep it as far away from me as possible. Even when I sleep, it's off completely, and it's in another room. Everything electronic is off.
We didn't have it like that before. I mean, so we were doing better.
Don't need it. Don't need it.
Because look, we have a way of communicating, that is so far beyond this trickle down technology that we've become used to. If you have strong legs and you run track and you can squat and you bodybuild and you're strong and you sit in a wheelchair and don't use your legs, what's going to happen? What are you going to begin to look like after a while? So they've given us these things, and they've made it sweet. They made it sweet for us in a sick way, and we go for it. And we lost so much.
That's true.
Look at how our children don't communicate with each other anymore. There's already social distancing going on.
Right.
Now we have a reason to do it, and now we have a reason to go deeper into our cell phones, because now, since I can't be near the next person or greet them, or we're scared they're going to sneeze, so we're walking around. They got a mask. I got a that is a weird thing.
Isn't it weird?
Impact the mind, to make you paranoid of the next person.
Well, it's working in one of two ways. People are going to take this time to do positive things and to prepare for the next chapter. And then there are going to be people that are going to sit at home, just like before, and consider this to be a party and watch TV and watch sitcoms and play their stupid ass video games.
Yeah.
Excuse my French, because I like to be child friendly with my talks, because I want children to listen to what I have to say.
Right.
But that part you can scratch out.
But they need to hear that part too, man. If a man of your caliber said it that way, then it must mean something. And they hear that anyway on the television set in decadent ways. You're saying it in a righteous way. A little hot sauce on the food doesn't hurt, but if you turn the whole bottle over in it, then it's a whole different ball game.
There you go. I feel better now. I feel better now. So
exactly.
Yeah, but if I can curse, I can go, but not in front of children.
I know. I mean, I know your style, brother. I know your style, man. I've never seen you face to face or been in the same room with you, but I feel your decency, and I know the type of man that you are. It resonates, and see, we have that way with each other. We can see, and with now I'm so much more mature than I've ever been. I used to call people out all the time if they weren't right. I can be around them and look at them and say, I know exactly what you want. I know what you're trying to do. You're not going to get it, but let's play cat and mouse for a little while. I kind of enjoy that.
You can see them salivate. You can see them salivating too.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, I've learned how to read people too over the years.
I remember when I was about 10 years old, my mother told me, she says, man, you have the gift of discernment. And I'm like, really? You think so? And I never said that because I'm not trying to say that and run around with that. And that's a churchified statement, but we all have that, but we just have to develop it and really keep ourselves unplugged from the lust of this world. That's what I'm into now. I don't care. Like Kwaku, he's in the stratosphere with that. He's like,
sure
listen, and I've seen him develop, and You know, he's a man who has been in construction for 20 years.
Spiritual.
Yeah, he's been in construction for 20 years. So there are things that go along with that. So if he can walk away from what he's earned over the years, it's like, wait a second, give stuff away, not be into it. All his thing is his biking right now and eating clean. I mean, so super clean. You know?
He's a Rasta man.
Exactly.
Rasta man.
So I've learned so much, and even from Mrs. SCURV, the way she knows how to with the survival tips. And we're going to do a video within the next few days. You know, Kwaku, people don't know that he is a chef. He worked as a chef for so many years. So neck and neck, he's just as good as a cook as Mrs. SCURV. I think she has an edge on him. Maybe.
Wow.
But
I knew Jamaicans like that in school. When I went to college, I knew Jamaicans. These guys can cook.
But not only that, but because of his upbringing up in the mountains, up in, you know, I won't say where. I mean, for
in the mountains, really,
in Jamaica,
wow.
Yeah. I mean, they had to get up. They had to get up at the crack of dawn before school and go to the side of the mountain for about 5 miles to get water, fresh water, in buckets and walk it up, and then prepare breakfast, and then clean up, and then go to school, and then run 10 miles before the class started, and then start with the class.
And look how healthy they were.
Well, look, I mean, how run 10 miles before school after getting up at the crack of dawn, preparing your food.
I would trade that for this world. I would trade that for this world in a heartbeat.
Yes, I would.
In a heartbeat.
Yes, I would.
Yeah, my value, my wealth is not denominated in the things, the material things of this world.
And you see, this is the thing too. Especially Kwaku, he rejected at certain points that the European teachings of what, he would go out in the woods. They thought he was crazy when he was a young boy. And he would stay out there all day.
That's the best thing he could have done.
Exactly.
The best thing he could have done.
Exactly. And that's why he loves it so much. And, he got his downloads and whatever. So like I said, different things when it comes time to making certain decisions, I go to him and I say, hey, I know this is your thing, whatever. What do you think? And he never leads me wrong through his example. But he lives it. This is the thing. He lives it. And like he told me, so many people they reach out to me, hey man, give me his number, give me his YouTube channel, he's like, I'm sorry, he's not on, he doesn't even want that. He never wanted that.
Who wants that?
Kwaku, he doesn't want this social media.
Oh, yeah, he's like me then.
Yeah, exactly.
He's just like me. I don't want a YouTube channel. I don't care about that. Don't care.
He doesn't. But it's built in. So I said, I got you. When he has something to say, boom, I got you. And it's an honor. You know what I mean? So I know my role. I told him, I said, listen, I'm gonna always keep the mic stuck up under your nose. Whatever. If you sneeze, there's something right just coming out. So I'm gonna.
We got a beautiful synergy going. This is a beautiful synergy.
Yes. It's a zone, man, and it's a nutritious zone. This time of the night.
The people, you, me, the diversity.
Exactly,
man.
That's what this is how I grew up, man. This is how I grew up. I've known, the diversity and the different types of people. Any type of person that's out there in the world, I knew them before the age of 8. Meaning those types.
I knew, so did I.
Let me tell you
types.
Let me tell you a little story. Let me tell you a little tidbit that a lot of folks don't know about me. I went to a summer camp in upstate New York near Canada in 1974 when I was 11. In 1975 when I was 12. And I can't recall exactly which year it was, whether it was 74 or 75. But this was a place called the North Country School Camp Treetops. If anybody wants to Google it, because some people are going to say, "Oh, you're lying," and it goes back, I think, way back into either the late 40s or 50s, where every year many affluent families would send their children to this camp for 7 weeks in the summertime. They had 45 horses there. They had countless acres of land.
Wow.
I mean, just beautiful. It wasn't some camp where some little couple of acres, whatever. I'm talking about basically miles, In the wintertime, it was a school, but in the summertime, it was a camp. And they had buildings there that were one story, like the kitchen and everything. And I believe it was about maybe 250 to 300 children that were up there. And so coming from the city, which I didn't have the stereotypical inner city mindset, whatever that may have meant. Dreamstar, thank you so much. Thank you so much for helping out, and we're going to keep doing it day and night. We're going to make the agents out here work for their money, right? So
this is the most important channel on YouTube.
I'm humbled. I don't know what to say. And I would say, but you know what? I accept that, but me in my position, I can't say that. You know what I mean? I can't. Hey, everybody, I'll let you say
because of the content, because of the offering, because of the diversity of people and the diversity of talent that you have on the show, because of the multiplicity of viewpoints. That's what you need. We need that. We never had that.
I want to bring that back. I lived that growing up and seeing that on the TV, you know, seeing people on TV that, I mean, on black shows that you'd go out in the street and you'd see them like, oh, wow, there's so-and-so for TV. And they were interviewed on this show. Wow. You know, so my thing.
And you doing it now.
Is that in a different way, but I think I remember. And so there's so much more inside of me to come out to reproduce that. But for this time and day, you know, just it's a hobby going wild. And like I said, you know, I understand what's inside of me and I know what I got in my tank. So I don't even have to say, you know what I mean? So this is why I spend my time digging in, and I've been blessed with abilities to, you know, with graphics and having an eye for advertisement, the artwork, being able to meet people, all my weird abilities that I thought not were weird, but they just didn't have a connection before. I will admit that the internet helped to bring all those things together. You know, so I mean, look, we did shows all day today, and then we drove, you know, because we're moving around in undisclosed locations. I'll say that.
Of course,
you know.
Of course.
So I'm getting a kick out of that because there's a lot of people trying to not track me down to do nothing to me, but just to be nosy, and I love to throw it off. So
I told you about that Faraday cage, though. You know what to do with that. I'm gonna send you something on that.
Yeah, definitely. So when Michael Hamer called me, I said, okay, listen, give me 30 minutes, I'll be there. And he said, where are you? I said, I can't say it over the phone, man. You know, I'm moving around right now. You know, so I got down there. We videotaped. It's on its way to be uploaded now. It'll be ready in about 17 minutes. But I may put it up now. I may put it up 2 hours from now. I might put it up noon tomorrow. I don't know. I'm going to figure it out. But anyway, that's just the whole thing. Like, we're going down there to do this. We did these shows already. We took care of private business. I'm up right now. I might get up in 2 hours and start doing some stuff. I'm hyped. I'm stupid right now. I mean, I'm ready to roll. I got 3 weeks worth of work to do in 2 days. You know what I mean? So now everything's off. I feel it. But like, let me finish telling you the story. My father had many clients that were very affluent. He refinished floors in landmark properties. Right. He you know, so
good job.
So lots of times, and you know, he was his own business. So lots of times, me even being young, like 9 and 10 years old, you know, I'm an artist, right? So a lot of these people who own these properties, or they own other properties where they can do unique things with, they said, this guy, your son is a pretty good artist. Do you think he could stencil out something on the floor once you sand it down, and then he could stain it before you put the polyurethane and the sealer and the polyurethane on? Because I adopted that. I know how to do floors, and I used to do floors too, just for my friends and stuff, customized stuff. And even in my old home in New York, I stained my last name in the floor. It was shiny and it was nice looking. I put down tape as a stencil and stained it by hand. I had a map of Africa in my home back in, I wouldn't do that. I think I did it back in 88, 89. A huge map of Africa, like maybe 8 feet tall and 4 or 5 feet wide, in a cherry red stain. It was beautiful with wood floors and shining and stuff. And it hurt to sell that house because, you know, of what the work that I put into it. So I would do these different stains and stuff. And I remember I was 11 years old, and this man wanted a huge champagne glass with a woman sitting in it, and I had to do a really sexy woman shape. But I mean, I'm an artist, so I know I was a little boy, but I knew what that looked like. So he wanted me to do that. And my father said he can do anything, just whatever you want. He'll sketch it out first to your approval. I think the stem of the glass, he wanted me to make a little thicker and stuff like that. So she was sitting in, and she was drinking out of a champagne glass. So she was sitting in, but you can see her thighs and her buttocks, the outline of it, but I really made it a nice shape. He's like, and I'm going to say it the way he said it. He said, how did your son know how to draw a nice ass like that? You know what I mean? And her feet were up in the air, or one leg was up in the air, and she had one of her stiletto heels on the other foot just hanging off her toe. And he couldn't believe how I captured that. So she was naked, actually, and she had the right hand holding up the champagne glass so it covered up where the nipples would be. So it was a decent shot, but you had to get the angles right. Now, here I am, 11 years old, doing this, right? So he was like, wow, he is so talented. I want to do something for him, whatever. So
yeah, you're talented, all right.
They hooked me up to go to this camp up in upstate New York, where all of these I'm talking about rich kids. We had lean-tos in tents, but it was mainly lean-tos. It's like a tent, but it's made of wood. You slept under mosquito nets, but each lean-to had a counselor that was close by all night. So you were safe there on that whole property. So anyway, there was one guy, I'll never forget his name, Brian Bronfman, and now he's a philanthropist now. He's a billionaire who just gives money away. But he would never give me money, even though he might remember me, my cause and my vision. It ain't happening. You know what I mean? He's connected that way. He came up in a family like that. A lot of names I remember. I have some scattered pictures deep in the photo albums. I'm going to scan a lot of my pictures that people have never seen of me through all of those years, and it's going to be funny. But what I meant to say was that when you had mentioned somebody and it triggered it off, anyway, we would get up and we would choose our activities for the day if we wanted to ride. Really ride horses, not like hold them up and just walk. No. They had the barn. We had to clean the barn. The barn was huge. You had 45 horses. You had 49 mountains in the Adirondacks that were over a mile high, right? So if you hiked all of them, you can call yourself a 49er. Well, between those 2 years, I hiked like 11 of them. And the tallest mountain in the Adirondacks is called Mount Marcy. And I forgot exactly the exact feet, but I hiked that one. And a few Algonquin, was it Whiteface, Goethals Mountain. There's a lot of things that I was around most of these white folks, right? So one of the guys, right, he wasn't supposed to be in the particular bathroom area because it was all wooden and all like ranchy kind of look. It wasn't like some super modern thing. So we would go in and the council would say, okay, it's time to get up, y'all. If you want to stay in your little tent, whatever, but we got to keep an eye on you. And we'd go to council, and council was like early in the morning, and different councilors would say, okay, we're taking a trip to this mountain, which may be miles away. And then you're hiking, so you can stay in, you can stay back and do art, you can stay back and do this, or just hang around, go swimming, get swimming lessons. Anyway, make a long story short, there was this very arrogant kid. And this is why I think the Illuminati doesn't like me. There was this real arrogant kid who I was brushing my teeth, and there was a sink next to me. This is early in the morning, and he came over and shoved me out of the way. Now, I think I was one of 3 young black men, young boys. I could say boy, I'm not, hey boy, I'm just saying I was a boy. Young black boys who were there. And I was more laid back because I was exposed to a lot already. So here it is. He shoved me and I smacked him and I punched him and I shoved him down to the ground. I was a strong little kid, but you had to pick on me for me to be aggressive on you. And you know who I found out that was later on? I think he's deceased now, and I think he was gay after a while. You know who it was? Think of a big Illuminati name from New York back in the day. His name was Michael Rockefeller.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Michael Rockefeller. I smacked him up the head. If I knew then what I knew now. Wow. But I use these shows to tell a lot of the small tidbits too and put it out there because when I transition, something like that will never get told because most people don't know. I mean, it's nothing big really, but I've been blessed in my life to cross paths with, and that wasn't somebody who I would consider good, but I'm just saying that You know, even when I worked at on Fifth Avenue at Bijan Paksad's boutique, you can Google that name, Bijan. You know, just Bijan, just Google that. And I had an experience with him because I worked there, you know, for him. So it's experiences and the celebrities that would come in, and sometimes you'd have one customer the whole day. You couldn't walk into his store on Fifth Avenue. It's down the block from Trump Towers and up a couple blocks from the Olympic Towers where he lived. You had to call and make an appointment. You couldn't. The only way you can walk up in there was like the day that George Benson walked up in there unexpectedly, and so we let him in. Wow. Yeah. But other people. But I mean, Texas oil tycoons. Adnan Khashoggi rolled up in there. At the time, I didn't know who he was. And see, Adnan Khashoggi. This is a
connected Arab Illuminati.
Yes. I can tell you some stories. So this is why, at a young age, after having hands-on experience with a lot of things and going through different worlds and even exploring the adult underworld of New York City and the underbelly, and I'm probably going to start some things on Sunday on Patreon talking about those things and in a very graphic way. Because Patreon, you know, you got to give the people some little more punch. So I'm going to set that up. So anybody want to get down with that, I will do something on Sunday, you know, about the underbelly and the clubs and the adult things that I saw and experienced.
That'd be a book you'd sell. That thing would sell like hotcakes.
Yes.
People like that type of stuff.
Yes. It's
sell like hotcakes.
And I never realized, but friends of mine are like, Lance, you know, you need to write a book. I mean,
like Donald Goings, you know, Donald Goings Jr. He wrote those books he wrote.
Yes. Donald Goings and Iceberg Slim, don't you think? Yeah. I was 11, 12 years old reading all those. My older brother had those books, so I love to read them and go out and see the actual people, not the actual people, but people who look like them. And my father introduced me to people like that. The hustlers and pimps and guys shooting the drugs and stick up kids and prostitutes and whore. No, it wasn't just that he was with the decadent stuff. He didn't want me to have any curiosity for that stuff. He was a very classy man, and he took me places my mother couldn't take me. So he made sure that when I got to a certain age, I was against that stuff. That's why I got into bodybuilding so young and doing a little boxing. You know what I mean? So you know, those years, those formative years I wasn't a guy sitting around on the basketball court or the football or just, I'm trying to date this one girl. I was in the right place at the right time with the right parents and hearing the right conversations, absorbing the right things. So I actually feel like I'm about 120 years old, not because I'm worn down, but because of the amount of hands-on experience in life. Yes.
Me too.
You know,
I feel the same way.
And I know that about you.
I've been through what you've been through. I've been through similar experiences. And then when you read some of these stories and some of the books that I've read, I feel like I've traveled 1,000 miles.
Exactly. And then when you speak to others, not that you're trying to be condescending, because I've spoken to others who have many college degrees and who are world traveled. Now, I'm not world traveled like that.
That means nothing.
No, and I know that. But when you have to talk to them and they come in with this condescending thing about what they did, but they have no clue about human nature, human interaction, no discernment. It's just like, throw layers of worldliness on me and I can show you this piece and that piece, and they haven't even conquered themselves yet.
Yeah, those degrees are so limited, though. They're so limited. You know, like I mentioned, you know, it's one level of teaching that they get, one level of teaching for the elect. They get the junk science and the junk whatever discipline they get, and then there's a whole nother level of real information. I think I talked about it in part 3. But you put this video up. Everything I sent you from yesterday, put those links, even for the survival type, preparedness type stuff. That's important for people. The videos on the video I sent you on about the conspiracy against Malachi Z. York that proves his innocence.
Exactly.
That video.
Yeah.
And the link to a bookstore.
What I'm going to do, I'm going to put a forum for you, segment 7, Carrie Lux, that you can drop in on, and you can, you know, put your name, you know, as a member, and people can talk to you directly when you choose.
Oh,
and it's going to be private. It's going to be where not anybody can just sail on in, because each forum that I make, because like even right now as we speak, I've been working on the African forums right now, and I kind of stopped.
Wow.
Yeah, because I have every state in the United States I have on Melanin Envy, and you can reach out to people. Now it's not populated. It's going to take, these things take time to build. Like where I am right now, I had a vision of where I am right now about 8-9 years ago. So you know, I'm in it for the long haul, because as I travel and get around, and when it's time to go back to the motherland and travel and get around, I already have, you know, Quaco has several speaking engagements this year. We may or may not get to it, you know, South Africa, Nigeria, Kenya.
Quaco, wow.
Yeah. And I'll do a little introduction and get on there. We'll videotape everything. You know, when we go places, we're going to do it. But a lot of things.
You guys are the new black leaders.
What, you know, I'm not saying I'm, you know what I mean? I'm just trying to I'm just trying to connect people, man. But like I said,
all of us are, yeah. But, you know, all of us are you know, leaders. But yeah. So, well, I think that was a good. I think I gave people a lot. I vented a lot. I got some stuff off my chest.
Yes.
And I gave them a window into my world, into the workings of my inner world. This is now they know. We did like a mind meld tonight. You guys got, you know, a piece of me.
There you go.
You know.
There you go. And
that's what it was.
You can maintain your anonymity, because we need people who can put their face out there. We need soldiers who are invisible. And that's very important. And you know, some people, they get very angry when they can't. Let me go to his page. Let me find out all about him. And it's not always that way. You know. You know,
not that way.
Unfortunately, there may come a day when I have to disappear offline, and come back.
I know I am.
And come back under a different name. I mean, no,
a different persona. Yeah.
Exactly. That I'll be right there next to everybody, and they won't even know. I may have to do that. Because it's getting hot
well,
out
it's kind
here.
of hard with your voice. With your voice, that would be hard. My voice, and the people know my voice. So,
well, we got to do a few things electronically with that. You know what I mean?
I'll do it electronically. Yeah, I'll change it.
But it's a matter of getting the work out there. And as a political illustrator, I have some things that I mean, this is going to be a wonderful year, regardless as to what they're saying that's going to go on and everything. This is going to be a wonderful year, because that's what I came out online with first, and I want to be known, you know, if anything, as one of the premier black political illustrators of the world, who is about
you
African
are that
unity.
Already.
Well, you know.
As a matter of fact, if I were to get one of your political illustrations, I would get the one where Barack Obama is sitting on the toilet, and he's saying that he has a toilet paper with Mitch McConnell's face on it.
Yeah, Mitt Romney.
Mitt Romney's face on it, and he's saying to Mitch, you seen a side of me that Michelle will never see. Man, I got to get that in a huge blowed up poster on my wall in color. That is one of the baddest pieces of artwork I've ever seen. I told my sister about it, but
it's on the site. It's on LANCESCURV.
People got to see your art, man. They got to go see your art. But I don't want to be on his too long. I mean, how long we been on now?
Oh yeah, we've been on for 2 hours and 18 minutes. I just want to say one thing.
That's
that
cool. Yeah,
everything that I do from this point on, when it comes to the artwork, I have a book cover I have to do for a friend, because I do book covers, you know, hand done and everything like that. There's a lot of things that I do.
I'm gonna pay you to do one for me. But
it's always going to be in that style. You know what I mean? It's always going to be in that style where you can recognize and say, "Hey, that's one of his pieces." You know, so
you can trademark artwork.
Yeah. And Dr. Kang wants me to do 2 books this year, so he's like, you know, you have to. It's going to open doors for you. I'm going to open some doors for you. So I'm still going to always do my shows, but I'm going to always, you know, do those other things too, but I'm going to hit them hard, you know. And this is one of the reasons why I expanded online, because when I was just drawing and we had other websites and other people who would show stuff, when they saw that I had other talents, they became intimidated and didn't want to be bothered with me no more. Like this guy.
Intimidated?
Yeah.
Man, your artwork, the whole world needs to see your art.
No, see, when they saw me write well, it's like, who does he think he is? He's not out of college. How's he writing so good? Well, listen.
So what?
No, but people are funny that way, man. People are funny that way. You know what I mean? So, like I said, you know, you're supposed to be in one little lane and master one little lane. maybe folks don't realize it, but I might have 18 lanes I'm mastering. There's a lot of
you in
things
different lanes. No, you in different lanes. You multitask.
People don't even realize. Man. So I paint better than I draw, but nobody knows that.
Really? You paint too?
Oh man!
Man, you're gonna give me some pointers on that. I love art. I love to draw. I love to paint. Don't have a lot of time for it right now, but yeah, I do. I think I can do it.
Definitely. So there's a lot of things, and what I can say publicly is that Dr. Kang doesn't mind me saying, but he's going to build a hospital in Ghana, another 2 years plus or whatever. And any doctor that's there has to have a cure for some disease, whether it's rare or they cannot be there unless they have a natural cure. They're not treating. Like they say, oh, you're getting treated. No. You know.
What a joke. What a joke.
Exactly. So you have to, and it's going to be all inclusive where you can live. You're going to have a nice, huge apartment. You're going to be given a vehicle. You're going to be paid well. And if you want to leave for the time to go somewhere else, you can, but everything will be right there. So
yeah, that's how it should be. Because one thing I noticed about the African people is that the African people have they've been seduced by the delicacies of the harlot, the whore, you know, America, Babylon, the Western world, and they think they don't know anything about their own medicinal cures, and they just like I mentioned, I think in video 3, how they had a denazification campaign in Nazi Germany after they overthrew Hitler, and when they overthrew Saddam Hussein, they had to rewrite the history books, and they pretty much gutted all the information, and they wrote a new reality into play, and they pretty much rewrote African history, and they don't even know anything about that.
Yeah,
I'm teaching them about that, and here I am in America. But you know, that being said, that's a whole other topic for another time.
Listen, man, get some rest.
I want to get into like I said, some nature conversations and let people know the importance of nature and what nature can do for them. They don't know.
That's right. And we don't want to dilute this episode. You know, we want to just keep it where, I mean,
I like to have a theme.
Yeah, exactly.
I like to have a theme, and I like to hit it hard.
Exactly. But, you know, I can talk all night. I'm going to probably, you know, don't be surprised if this, you know, you call me tomorrow afternoon or something. I said I never slept. I'm going to try to really work some ages tonight.
Of this channel. Yeah, I'm very appreciative of you and this channel, and for the people that are on the, you know, the people that, you know, listen to the shows and stuff, you know.
Yeah, I'm very appreciative of it. I mean, I don't even take credit for it. I'm just a person who, you know, it's like a man who owns the club, but he's not the one who put up the flyers for the party or even ran the party. He just owns the club and just sits back and makes sure everything is not broken and everything's running, and we sweep the floors and clean up after and make it presentable. I really don't take credit for the energy of others. But I can notice the energy of others. I've always thrown good parties in my life. I could always mix and match the energies and say, hey, when you meet this person, y'all are going to hit it off. If I get these people under the roof, I know they're going to hit it off. But you know what? That one right there, we can't have him there because he's going to mess it up. I've always had that. And so you have people, even now, it's a bit more difficult, but if you have that gift of discernment, you can feel the energies through the keyboard. You know who's coming there for attention. You know who's coming there to try to say, hey, come to my channel, or come here, or don't listen to Lance, hey, or make something up. Or it's all of that thing, all those things going on. But see, when you have a vision that goes 20, 30 years in advance, then those petty things are not worth anything. Go ahead, play in the corner. You won't be here in 2 years. You won't be here in 6 months.
Right.
If you're thinking petty life is going to sweep you somewhere else because you're so low in your thoughts. The reason why I'm here is because I've given my whole life to this. There are a lot of I've had a lot of close calls in my life. I know why I'm preserved. I'm here. This is what I'm supposed to do. Even though you, as a YouTuber, it's just a YouTuber. We'll go ahead and think that. There's a lot more going on with me. Not bragging, not ego. I'm saying I'm a tool for what's righteous, and I submit and have committed to being used in a righteous way. I'll tell my jokes. I'll say some dirty jokes here and there. I'll say some things. You know what I mean? So that's the bottom line. So I'm in it for that. So until my mission is exhausted, I know I'm going to be here. But I can't play around. I have to put the work in day in and day out. Oh, I know. I know.
Yeah, this is my gift. This is my gift to the African diaspora.
Exactly. We
These
have to be our gifts. We have to be the ones to go in and give it all and whatever's required. Let me tell you something. And I know you have to go in. And you know, I may start a whole new live after we hang up. But wherever we went in Ghana, we went to some places that were very affluent, very beautiful. We went to malls that were nice, just as nice. Saw mansions and homes and stuff. And we went through places, or if you can call them communities or villages, where it was so basic. We went some places way out where the women didn't even wear tops. Their breasts were out. Where if we had to go to the restroom, we had to squat over a hole in the floor and use newspaper to wipe our backside. That's not the whole Africa. I'm not trying to put that out there. I'm just saying that we went through different places and I loved it. It wasn't no hesitation. I can't do that. I embraced it. As long as the food was plant-based that was there, I didn't have to ask. I'm going to eat it.
I'm happy.
We were out
I'm
there.
happy.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
I'm happy. So I'll talk about that when I was talking about my grandfather, the influence he had on me. He was like that. He had his own log cabin. He had his own farm. Man, it was amazing.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I'll talk about that one of these days.
Yes, my brother. And one more thing I want to say, just for another 90 seconds, that there are people that I met over there that had absolutely no toxicity to them at all. And I connected to them. And I missed them. And they made me feel such a sense of home. And they call me weekly or every few days and they say, Lance, we can't wait for you to come back home. We're not going to let you go when you come back. You belong here. And then I hear people on social media saying, oh, those Africans don't care about you. And these are people who don't want me for anything else except for my spirit. You know, that we laugh. We've already had jokes that we formed together, formulated. They'll come on and say something crazy, and many will know the names, but they don't really know the relationship. And just the feeling, their hospitality wasn't fake, like we're trying to get something out of this guy. And I didn't have to be anything. I didn't have to be this American coming over there like this great guy. Just throw on your shorts, throw on your T-shirt, throw on your little shoes. Let's take a walk. Oh, let me climb this tree. You ought to see Quaker. He climbed so high to get this breadfruit. He climbed like almost 5 stories tall, high. Man, but the fun we had. Waking.
I bet.
Man, you know, when you want to lay in a bed an extra hour because it's like, oh, I'm still tired. When you get to that, man, I say, I don't care about the extra. I gotta get out there. You ready?
It's too much to see. It's too, and it's a beautiful place. It's like Mississippi. When I saw you, I'm like, the dirt is like Mississippi. It's beautiful.
Oh man,
beautiful.
You just don't know. And the love. And I come here to America and see. Yes, there are loving people. There are nice people. There are people I came up with that I'm connected to. Yes, but it wasn't as abundant as over there. And the funny thing is, the people had no reason to do it except because they're loving people.
It's a toxic environment over here.
Toxic. Man, it's toxic. It's toxic.
So toxic.
It's toxic.
So toxic.
I'm here and I'm not here. Once
I'm not here.
That,
I'm physically here, but I'm not here.
Once you taste that, I'm a little upset being here. More than a little, because I'm missing out right now.
I know what you mean.
It's like a party across the street that you can't go to because you got diarrhea, but you hear them over there dancing and having a good time. You're like, man, I want to go, but I can't leave. on that note, brother, go in and get some sleep. You know, I'll rock it all night long. You know what I mean? If the zone we're in, we will talk tonight at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. If it was, I love staying on the phone with like-minded people.
Yes.
But this is just for the sake of the future people to watch.
Exactly. We understand.
I don't want to deter them.
Right.
I don't want them to see a 3-hour video and say, oh, I don't want to watch this too long.
Right.
You know what I mean?
When they hear your voice and hear your content, they'll say, oh, man, a 3-hour video, we wish it was 6 or 9. But go ahead and get your rest, brother.
Okay, man. I'll be in touch, and
we'll be back in the zone again.
That last segment that last segment, we gonna knock that out.
Oh, knock it out the park.
The audience will enjoy that one too. I hope they enjoy that. It's very interesting.
Yes.
So they just need to have all the pieces of the puzzle.
Exactly. Excellent information.
Yep, I'm glad you liked it. And hopefully, I know people are telling me about the comments. I never really read them because other people have been telling me, oh, man, they love your stuff. I'm like, okay, I have to start looking at the comments now.
Definitely, man. It's all love and it's all good. You know, it's a wonderful experience. And like I said, I want to continue to do this. And again, I'm going to do something where I open up my brain on Sunday and just flow. And I'm not holding back. I'm going to say some things that are very shocking and engaging and compelling. I don't think I'm all that, but I know when I look, let me tell you something. When you open up sincerely, it's nothing short of phenomenal. And plus, I owe so many people. I owe a lot of money to a lot of people. You know why? Because they've been my therapist to listen to my craziness.
Well, you owe me some money too.
I know, right? Get some rest, brother. Get some rest.
All right, man.
All right.
You get some too. I mean, we need you to produce more content.
Oh, all day, every day, man. All day, every day. And I got some tricks up my sleeve for different types of content. I want to do skits. I want to do little plays. I'm looking for people in the immediate area, but I'm moving around a lot. But
nice.
We can do little 5-minute things, little 5-minute funny things, little compelling things. I'm not just going to sit here.
Yeah,
you know, it's so much more. I want to act. I'm a frustrated actor, you know. So I'm going to be in them too. You know, so we're gonna have some fun.
You would be good. That would be fun.
I have no shame. I'm used to the stage. I'm used to being in front of people. I'm used to, you know, performing when I was in bodybuilding, and you know, I want to do stand-up comedy. I'm gonna do that too. I'm gonna do that this year before the year is over. But I'm gonna go to a hick town somewhere where nobody knows me and video record it. If I bomb, then I'm not showing anybody. But anyway,
make sure you go with a posse because you go to a hick town. You know how them hicks are.
Well, you know what?
They sound crazy.
Yeah, let them be crazy. If I'm not funny or if I am funny and they try me, we'll get that on videotape too. That'll go viral.
Yeah.
Scurv went off and beat up 49 Hick Billy Bobs.
Yeah, I did that before. Yeah, they tried me one time. They did the wrong thing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
the Black Benny Hill.
One day.
All right,
yeah,
brother.
I'll tell you about that.
Get some rest, brother.
All right, man. You have a good night, and good night to the Global Black family.
Most
Thank you guys for listening, and be very happy to connect with you guys again.
Yes,
have
indeed. Good night, brother.
All right, brother.
All right.
Take care. All right.
All right, peace.
Peace.
Yeah, I'm just gonna take another minute and say so long to everybody. I think I'm gonna wake up at 6 o'clock and start my day. It's 3:26 a.m. Maybe 5, maybe 6. I don't know, but I don't know if I'll even go to bed. I got to finish up putting these countries in Melanin Envy. Brother Hayes, remind me, I'm going to put you as a moderator in the room and help it grow in different states and whatever have you. I mean, I have the superpowers to look over everybody and everything, but I got to keep things straight. And as it grows and gets packed, just let me know if anybody's acting up and they'll be booted out forever. So yeah, I want to do something on Sunday like I've been promising, and probably I'll do it every Sunday. It's not about me, but I have too many experiences that I have to share. It's like when you go to the restroom and you know you're going to sit there for a while. I got to sit there for a while and let these things come out. And I need somebody to pick my brain. You know what I mean? I want to just lose myself in my past and just share it because I have a lot of things inside of me to share. Not that I think that I'm all that, but they need to be out there. Before I transition, at whatever point I transition, they need to be out there, you know, because I've seen a lot and been through a lot. You know what I mean? So that's what it's all about. So I'm going to end this segment. I may come back in 30 minutes. I don't know. I'm going to make a phone call. I'm going to be up and I might just roll through till daybreak and then turn around and start making some more videos for the rest of the day. That's exactly the way I feel. I'm so pumped up over Mr. SCURV food and just quiet living that, you know, it may be that way. But I'm going to take a break right now. I'm actually going to walk out into the backyard. I'm going to put on some long pants so the mosquitoes don't bite me up. But I'm going to go out into the backyard, walk around, meditate, breathe some air, and I'll see what I do in a little while. You might get another notification. Who knows, you know? But thank you so much, everyone. And like I said, we're going to just keep rolling like this in a serious, serious way. All right? I'm going to put some music on because I'll ramble and rant. I don't want to mess up this segment that belongs to Brother Zamal Tamaray. And like I said, I might come on again for a little while, but I'm going to make a phone call a little while, go outside, walk around, and come on back in. And hit me on the email. All the links in the description area below. Just look below there, whichever way you want to reach out to me or other platforms that I'm on. I'm always dropping links, but you all know the drill, all right? So I want to let you all have a good night, good morning, and we're going to continue on. There's going to be a lot of content coming for tomorrow. I'm going to even try to do more. I have more inside of me. Okay, we have segment seven coming up in a few days also. I'm going to reach out to Carrie Lux and see what's up with her. And we got some new people coming, and I got some new visuals coming, and we're going to take it to the streets. We're going to go and talk to people in the street, bring that kind of content, let them talk and see what's really on their mind. So much to do. Anyway, much love. Thank you for the support and the love, and I'm going to keep things going. Peace.
My Lord is I lost my love. To the groove, I noticed I lost my love. To the groove, I noticed I lost my love. My Lord is I lost my love. To the groove, I noticed I lost my love. To the groove, I noticed I lost my love.
You know, I just can't play it once. We got to do it twice. Here we go.
My Lord is I lost my love. To the groove, I noticed I lost my love. To the groove, I noticed I lost my love. My Lord is I lost my love. To the groove, I noticed I lost my love. To the groove, I noticed I lost my love.
Three times.
My Lord is I lost my love. To the groove, I noticed I lost my love. To the groove, I noticed I lost my love. My Lord is I lost my love. To the groove, I noticed I lost my love. To the groove, I noticed I lost my love.
You see what I'm saying?
Everybody
Everybody's in fear though.
That's what I'm saying. So it's strictly a place of fear that we're operating from. And the fact is that we're not gonna get out of that place. And even sometimes when I speak, and some people will look at me and say, man, you gotta be careful of what you say. And I tell people, please do not tell me to be careful in what I have to say. I am not afraid to speak. I am not afraid because, look, I am here to do work. The fact is that when I go to my job, I don't just stand here and look at my job and hoping that it get done in some other way. So the job that I'm here to do, I am doing. I don't want anybody to sit and say, oh man, I'm worried about this. Don't worry about me. I don't want people to go around and worry when is white supremacy going to get him. These are the things that they want you to think. These are the places that they want to put you in.
Paralyzes.
So what I'm saying is, that's why we don't do nothing. We see our sisters being beaten down in the street as strong black men, and we stand here and we look, and all we can do is take up our phone and videotape it. And what happened after that? You see what I'm saying? We see these things, and yet we are paralyzed by them. But the fact is that here's where the danger comes in. The danger comes in because I will look at you, okay? I'll give you a scenario. Here's a white guy over here. He's got a lot of food, even food that he's just wasting. And you have a gun, but you ain't going over there to rob him. But here is it that me or you who live right next to him, who hardly can find enough to eat and feed the family, that's who he's coming to kill. So what does that say to you now? You see, this is so much self-hate. It is so much self-hate that is within you or me that is going to destroy the other person who look like you or me. And the food, all the food is over there. But you won't cross that line to go and get the food that you need. You're gonna cross the line to take away what this other person hardly even have. Because you hate yourself so much that you figure if you destroy yourself, then it's good for the, you know, I don't have to worry about this God that's living over there, because the God ain't gonna give me no food. And if you don't volunteer to give me no food, I'm not gonna go over there to take it. That's what I'm saying. So that's the place that we live. That's the place that we live. And so we have to stop feeding into this narrative where we are living in such fear that when a brother starts to speak truth to power, we're ready to say, oh man, hush, hush, hush. I don't want the prisoner to come in and get you next or to get me. So be quiet, you know, see, just don't say anything. Be careful what you say. And that's where we live. That's a very dangerous place to live. It is. But the fact is that we can't see that because we're so caught up. We're so caught up and we're hoping. We are hoping that we just wake up one day and everything magically change. And that is the thing where all of our people, a great deal of our people, is waiting for this magical person to come out of the sky and fix everything for them. That's what I'm saying. It is no magical person that is going to fix it for you. When you have a problem in your house, you must be the one to fix it. You see, what I'm saying is, I'm dealing from a place of logic. I'm not dealing from a place of imagination. Because a lot of us, we're dealing from a place of imagination. And that's where the problem comes in.
Why are we called Negroes? Why are we deaf, dumb, and blind? Why is everybody making progress, yet we seem to be lagging so far behind? Why are we mistreated? Why are we in this condition? Stripped of our name, our language, our culture, our God, and our religion. Here in America, all of our religious training has been gotten by the preacher. He has told us of a heaven way up in the sky that we can't enjoy now, but rather after we die. But all of the years that we're living, for us there's nothing but hell, pain, torture, and misgiving. Yet the Bible speaks of a heaven filled with material luxury, which the white man and the preacher has right here, so we see. So my friend, take it for what it's worth. Your heaven and your hell is right here on this earth. So let's check back into history, which rewards all research and tells us plainly that before the white man gained entry to the east, he was living in the caves of Europe, a ravenous beast, eating juniper roots and eating flesh raw, till God sent Moses to civilize him and teach him the law. Then, following Marco Polo, an explorer, he gained entry into Asia and Africa. From China, he took silk and gunpowder. From India, he took jute, manganese, and rubber. He raped Africa of her diamonds and her gold. From the Mideast, he took barrels of oil untold, raping, robbing, and murdering everything in his path. The whole black world has tasted of the white man's wrath. So my friend, it's not hard to tell. A white man's heaven is a black man's hell. Came to America, we were living in the east. By the Nile River, we were living in luxury, enjoying freedom, justice, and equality. We wore silken robes and slippers of gold. We were the wealthiest and the wisest people, I'm told. Now we are the poorest of the poor. Nobody wants us at their door. So my friend, it's easy to tell. White man heaven is black man hell. When the white man came to America, he told the Indian, I am your white brother. He said, red man, I'll treat you the best. Yet and still he pushed the Indian further west with his white woman and fire water. Tricks and lies, he stole America. The original owner of this nation is cooped up on a reservation. So my friend, it's easy to tell. White man heaven, black man hell. He needed someone to work the land. His back was too weak. He needed you, black man, so he commissioned Sir John Hawkins to commit the world's most grievous sin, to take a man who's born to be free and bring him down to slavery, to sell a man as merchandise, on his body put a price. Oh, my friend, it's easy to tell. White man heaven is a black man hell.